Ever since she was a child, this girl had the God-given ability to distinguish truth from lies. Even her mother, who knew her very well, couldn't deceive her even once. As she grew up, people started calling her the Lie Hunter. Thanks to this extraordinary ability that so many people desired, Seol-hee decided to start a business helping people track down liars. However, Seol-hee ended up accepting a request from a client who turned out to be a mafia boss. So in the middle of the night, she had to go alone to an abandoned building. The mafia boss asked her to find the traitor within his gang who had been secretly leaking information to their rivals. Even though she was standing before a group of gangsters, Seol-hee wasn't scared because she was already used to this kind of situation. Without hesitation, she got to work. The task was to identify the traitor among the 3 people tied up here. Just by observing their facial expressions and listening to their voices, Seol-hee already had her answer. But instead, Seol-hee told the boss that all 3 tied up people were completely innocent and the real traitor was actually someone else among the people present. Then she pointed to the man with a crippled leg. Seol-hee believed that ever since she arrived, that man had shown signs of discomfort. Without giving him a chance to explain, Seol-hee asked him the same question she had asked the other 3. He tried to explain, but couldn't stop Seol-hee from concluding that he was the traitor. At this point, the boss still seemed doubtful about Seol-hee's conclusion. Seeing this, the crippled man tried to defend himself, but the more he spoke, the more Seol-hee exposed his lies. Without saying much more, Seol-hee just mentioned that even his crippled leg was fake. The boss didn't hesitate and kicked away the crutch from his hand. Just as expected, the crutch flew a few meters away, but he didn't fall. Moreover, he even rushed to pick up crutch again to continue pretending to be crippled. At this point, everything was clear. The boss immediately handed Seol-hee a generous payment. She bowed, accepted it, and quickly left the place to avoid any further involvement with those people. Even though the job was done, the thug who had faked being crippled still held a grudge against her. He quickly tracked her down afterward. Judging by his unfriendly expression, Seol-hee knew that if she didn't run, she would die. But he didn't give up and kept chasing her to the end. Having no other choice, Seol-hee had to run to the train station and buy a ticket to Seoul. At that moment, a conflict between 2 men happened on the bus. The loud noise drew the thug's attention. At this time, Seol-hee was protecting a young man and trying to stop the rude behavior of the other man. The thug was also running toward the bus while Seol-hee was unaware. But suddenly, the driver announced that the bus was about to depart. The moment the thug reached the bus was also the moment the door closed and the bus pulled away. Thanks to that, Seol-hee escaped danger in that instant and safely arrived in Seoul. The young man whom Seol-hee had defended earlier was still quietly watching her. Her heroic act had greatly surprised and impressed him, but Seol-hee frankly said that she did it simply because she wanted to get to Seoul right away, not for any other reason. Seeing that he still didn't understand, Seol-hee handed him her business card. On it was written, "Lie Hunter, a person with the mission to bring truth everywhere." However, the young man turned away without taking the card. Throughout the entire trip, the 2 of them just quietly looked out the window without saying another word. Thinking that fate ended, there was a mistake. 5 years passed quickly. By now, Seol-hee was still pursuing her career as a lie hunter. That day, she went to a mansion in the suburbs with the mission of evaluating a handsome young man. Seol-hee was invited as the cousin of the house's female owner. She wanted to know if her soon-to-be husband was trustworthy or not. While eating, Seol-hee continuously asked questions so quickly that he couldn't react in time, but he was either a very skilled liar or he was telling the truth. Seol-hee was about to conclude he fell into the second case when the housemaid appeared. Seeing how he greeted the maid, Seol-hee realized he was lying. Seol-hee immediately exposed his lies. Seeing this, the maid suddenly became so frightened that she dropped the expensive bottle of wine in her hand. The young man didn't think much and rushed over to check on her. From the way the maid covered her belly, Seol-hee guessed she was pregnant. Even though the maid kept denying it, Seol-hee insisted that she was lying. Seol-hee also knew that the child in the maid's womb belonged to the young man. With the mission completed, Seol-hee immediately left the wealthy yet deceitful mansion. As soon as she got in the car, Seol-hee hurriedly took off the expensive outfit she had rented. Seol-hee's mother placed a lot of hopes on her. Her mother wanted her to pursue a prestigious profession like a prosecutor, because this job would also allow Seol-hee to make use of her ability. However, Seol-hee didn't want to work hard studying to become a prosecutor. She realized she could make a lot of money with this ability, so she went against her mother's wishes and opened a tarot cafe. But in reality, this cafe didn't sell coffee. The lie hunter would meet clients in a secret room inside the cafe. After work, Seol-hee stopped by a convenience store and accidentally saw a flyer searching for a sexual harasser. Coincidentally, there was a man behind her dressed exactly like the harasser. He looked at her meaningfully and even walked the same way as her. Seol-hee thought she was being followed, so she got scared and ran away. The man then raised his hand to count the number of floors in the building where she lived. The next day, during a gathering, the chairman of the Merchants Association reminded everyone to be careful because recently there had been a pervert targeting young, beautiful beautiful women living alone. Hearing this, Sol-hee was startled and worried. Just then, a woman's scream was heard. Everyone quickly rushed over and found Sol-hee's friend there. She hurriedly explained that she had just encountered the pervert. The man was dressed in black and wore a black mask. Upon hearing that, everyone quickly split up to search around. Soon after, someone found a suspicious man dressed exactly as described. Everyone surrounded him immediately. The man said he was not a pervert. He had never done anything bad, but no one believed him at that moment. Suddenly, Sol-hee stepped in and said that this man was telling the truth and that he was not a bad person. Facing the suspicion of everyone, Sol-hee still confidently affirmed what she said. This familiar moment made the man realize something. It turned out that 5 years ago, it was also Sol-hee who had bravely stood up for him on the bus. Coincidentally, he happened to pass by today, wearing the same clothes as the pervert. It turned out he was an exclusive songwriter for the idol Ji-on from J Entertainment Company. He was known as a mysterious musician because he had never appeared in front of the public. Even when Do-ha was driving and was pulled over by traffic police for a breathalyzer test, he still refused to take off his mask. Usually, Ji-on would go up to receive the award on Do-ha's behalf and bring it home. They had known each other since the days of poverty and hardship. Recently, when Ji-on brought a trophy to Do-ha and left, she was accidentally photographed by reporters. Thus, dating rumors between the two broke out, and Do-ha was disturbed by journalists. There were even drones outside Do-ha's apartment window. At this point, Dok-chan, a friend of Do-ha, suggested that Do-ha move into his private house. Dok-chan was also the CEO of J Entertainment. After that, Do-ha carefully covered himself and went to his friend's house, but because of his suspicious appearance, people misunderstood him as the pervert. Back to the present, Sol-hee's friend stepped forward and could not smell the perfume on Do-ha. She still remembered that she had sprayed perfume on the pervert in panic earlier. That could prove that Do-ha wasn't lying. Sure enough, based on that clue, they later found the real pervert, and Do-ha turned out to be Sol-hee's neighbor. That explained why Do-ha had walked the same way as Sol-hee before, and had counted the correct number of floors where she lived. At night, Sol-hee set her alarm to watch her favorite soccer team's match. With such great plays, she couldn't help but scream. This startled Do-ha, who lived next door, waking him up in the middle of the night. He went out to the balcony and looked over at his neighbor's house, and suddenly remembered that his favorite team was also playing, so he quickly took out his phone and turned on the live broadcast. The two of them ordered delivery food at the same time. Do-ha carefully wore a mask to go out and get the food. At that moment, Sol-hee also came out to get her food. Do-ha greeted Sol-hee kindly. Sol-hee quickly recognized Do-ha as the man who had been misunderstood as the pervert. She felt a bit annoyed because he always wore a mask. After they brought the food inside, they realized the delivery staff had switched their orders, so they had to meet again to exchange food. Do-ha knew that Sol-hee's meal didn't have cheese, so he gave her his portion of cheese as a way to thank her for helping him the other day. The two of them were fans of different teams, so their expressions were completely opposite. When one team scored, one person was happy while the other was disappointed. In the end, the team Sol-hee supported won. Do-ha next door was very disappointed. He rushed out, closed the window, and pulled the curtain, not wanting to hear Sol-hee's cheering. The next morning, a man drove to pick up Sol-hee for work. He saw a luxury car parked nearby and rushed over to take a closer look. He was about to take a photo but accidentally dropped his phone, causing a scratch on the car. At that moment, Do-ha stepped out of the car. When Sol-hee saw Do-ha, she immediately went over and apologized. But Do-ha said it was fine and didn't ask for compensation. After saying that, he got in the car and left. Do-ha's attitude shocked Sol-hee because when normal people said, "It's fine," it was usually a lie. But she could see that he wasn't lying and truly felt it was fine. That day, Sol-hee received a request from composer Park. He wanted her to verify whether a customer was actually composer Do-ha. He was very interested in Do-ha and wanted to know Do-ha's secret to composing. As planned, Sol-hee hid inside the dining room and listened to the conversation between the two men. In her hand was a signaling device to inform composer Park whether the other person was telling the truth. Later, Do-ha arrived and composer Park began pouring him a lot of alcohol. Then, composer Park started asking questions. But no matter what questions composer Park asked, Do-ha answered him straightforwardly, especially when he asked if Do-ha had plagiarized his music. Do-ha immediately replied, "I don't even know your music." This made the old man extremely angry. However, when Do-ha asked if you had plagiarized music, Sol-hee quickly realized that composer Park was lying, but he always believed he was more talented than Do-ha. Composer Park even deliberately opened a can of soda and sprayed it on Do-ha to make him take off his sunglasses, but that didn't make Do-ha take them off. Composer Park also tried to trip Do-ha, hoping he would fall, but unexpectedly, Composer Park was the one who got hurt. Afterwards, Sol-hee demanded that Composer Park pay the remaining amount as soon as possible, or she would expose his plagiarism. After saying that, Sol-hee got in her car and left, leaving Composer Park fuming alone. When she got home, she saw a drunk man sitting against the wall. Seeing the sunglasses and soda stains on his shirt, Sol-hee immediately immediately thought of the person she had just met at the restaurant. Solhi remembered his favorite football team was Liverpool, so she quickly deduced that the mysterious neighbor next door was Do-ha. Out of curiosity, Solhi gently removed Do-ha's mask and saw his real face. Just as she was about to put the mask back on, he suddenly woke up and grabbed her hand tightly. Do-ha was extremely shocked to realize that the girl in front of him had seen his real face. Solhi was also panicked because her sneaky action had been caught, but Do-ha didn't say anything and just stood up and left. At home, Solhi quickly searched the internet for information about Do-ha. She discovered that Do-ha seemed to be intentionally hiding his identity because there was no information about him online. The next day, Solhi ate alone at a restaurant. Two men came and sat at the table next to hers. The man in the leather jacket bragged to his friends that thanks to his amazing skills, many girls were crazy about him. Solhi overheard and immediately knew that everything the leather jacket guy said was a lie. It made her laugh. Then the man in the leather jacket noticed her and wanted to tease her. He deliberately asked Solhi if she had a boyfriend, but she wasn't interested in that kind of man. Moreover, nothing he said was sincere, so Solhi coldly replied and quickly left. When she met Do-ha standing alone again, Solhi apologized for what happened the other night. She said she was just curious and removed his mask because he had covered his face too well. If she had known that her action would cause Do-ha to not return home, she wouldn't have done it. But Do-ha was more concerned about whether Solhi had any thoughts when she saw his face. But Solhi had no impression at all, except that Do-ha had a very handsome face. At that moment, a strange man approached them. Do-ha didn't know who this guy was, so he stepped in front of Solhi to shield her. The man said he had dropped his phone and wanted to borrow theirs for a moment. Without hesitation, Solhi handed him her phone. Do-ha was extremely surprised by this action of Solhi. After the man finished his call, he returned the phone to Solhi, then asked to borrow some money for travel expenses. He promised to return the money as soon as he found his phone. Solhi immediately reached into her pocket to give him money, but unfortunately, she didn't carry any cash. So Solhi asked to borrow some money from Do-ha to lend to the man. Since it was Solhi asking, Do-ha had no choice but to comply. After getting the money, the man left without looking back. Do-ha couldn't help but remark how easily Solhi trusted people. Solhi bluntly said that she didn't trust people. She only trusted the words that deserved to be trusted. In contrast to Solhi, her mother was a professional scammer. But recently, Solhi had exposed her mother's scams and frozen her mother's credit card. So Solhi's mother was living a very hard life now. She often went to places where food was given to the homeless, then took pictures and sent them to Solhi to stir sympathy and ask for money. But Solhi wasn't easily tricked by her mother. Only when she confirmed that her mother was being sincere would she unlock the card. Solhi's mother claimed that she had vocal cord polyps removed and couldn't speak directly to Solhi. She even wrote on paper to avoid being caught lying by Solhi. However, Solhi's mother knocked on Do-ha's door by mistake, which surprised him. Just then, Solhi came home. Seeing this, Solhi wanted to pull her mother inside to talk immediately, but her mother refused to come in. Solhi's mother was afraid of talking to Solhi. She also blamed Solhi for ruining the family's life with her special ability. Therefore, her mother thought that the money Solhi earned with that ability should be shared with her mother. Solhi criticized her mother, saying that if she hadn't gone around scamming people, none of this would have happened. When Solhi's mother saw that Solhi wouldn't give her money, she prepared to leave. Feeling sorry for her mother, Solhi gave her mother the money she had prepared in advance. She hoped that her mother would take the money and stop causing trouble. Seeing her mother walk away excitedly made Solhi recall the past. When she was little, she was always curious about what her mother did. One day, when Solhi returned from school, a woman was waiting downstairs for her. That woman had been scammed by Solhi's mother and wanted information about her. But Solhi didn't know where her mother was. She only saw her mother secretly hiding someone's bank book. After that, Solhi brought the woman to their house to return the money her mother had scammed. But actually, the woman was also a professional liar. She had found evidence of Solhi's mother's scams and even took their family bank book, which contained all their savings. By the time Solhi realized the woman was lying, it was too late. The woman immediately ran away. Thinking about it now, Solhi couldn't help but feel a bit sad. She saw Do-ha standing on the neighboring balcony, so she knew he had overheard their entire conversation. Do-ha tried to comfort her, saying that family always has shortcomings. To Solhi, she didn't even know if her mother could be considered her family. She and her mother hadn't had a meal together in a long time, because her mother was afraid of her ability to detect lies. Early the next morning, Solhi returned the money she had borrowed to Do-ha. Sure enough, that man did not trick Solhi. He even calculated interest on the principal and repaid her. At that moment, Solhi received a phone call. The other party said the location for the blind date had changed. In reality, another girl went on a blind date and Solhi was entrusted to go with her to evaluate the man. The girl wanted to know whether the man truly loved her and whether he was ready to be a lifelong partner. At the gathering, the man said his work work was so busy that recently he hadn't had time to see her. Sol-hee knew he was lying, so she immediately pressed the button in her hand to alert the girl. Seeing the man still replying to text messages on his phone, Sol-hee proactively asked whether he was contacting a female colleague. His denial was clearly a lie. Sol-hee pressed the light button again. The girl asked the man to marry her. The man's answer let Sol-hee realize he agreed to date the girl only because he valued her family background. But because she truly loved him, she stubbornly asked in front of Sol-hee whether he loved her. The man only smiled, then stood and walked outside to make a phone call. That action replaced his answer. The girl took out the payment and handed it to Sol-hee, expressing that they didn't need to find out any more truth, but actually she had no intention of breaking up with the man. Facing the girl choosing to deceive herself, Sol-hee could only respect her choice. At that moment, the man entered with his friends. He came in front of the girl and knelt to propose. Seeing the happiness on the girl's face, Sol-hee silently returned the consultation fee to her. Sol-hee once had a boyfriend, and they even discussed marriage. The two of them loved each other deeply and treated each other with complete sincerity. It's just that after he began lying to her, he even couldn't say, "I love you" to her. Seeing her boyfriend's hesitation, Sol-hee took the initiative to propose breaking up because she knew that his saying he wanted to marry her was also a lie. Sol-hee didn't know that her ex-boyfriend had been transferred to Seoul to work as a patrol police officer. Meanwhile, Sol-hee was walking down the street and listening to countless lies from people in love. Suddenly, the music in a bar attracted her attention. Sol-hee walked into the bar alone and ordered a drink, then quickly forgot her own troubles. But the man playing piano on stage was actually Do-ha. Sol-hee listened to the music and drank generously. At that moment, a man suddenly came over to talk to her. Sol-hee tried to remember and recognize the man as the bastard who betrayed her wealthy client. That bastard quickly discovered Sol-hee and that woman were not cousins. His plot had been exposed by two of them was very angry. Sol-hee was drunk and admittedly not afraid, so she acknowledged it. Just as the bastard was about to attack Sol-hee, Do-ha, without his mask, came forward and escorted her away. On the way home, Do-ha thought that the bastard was the blind date target of Sol-hee, but she directly denied it. Today she encountered many unhappy things, so she drank to relieve stress. Do-ha worked hard to lock the car windows and prevent her from doing something reckless. Sol-hee was curious why Do-ha dared reveal his face to help her. At this point, Do-ha reacted and hurriedly put on his mask. Afterwards, Sol-hee pulled Do-ha to go eat. The two sat facing the wall to avoid anyone seeing Do-ha's face, so he could remove his mask with peace of mind and enjoy the food. After the meal, Do-ha took Sol-hee to the front of the building, then went to park car. Sol-hee discovered two reporters secretly investigating the building's mailbox. After a few questions, Sol-hee could hear they were lying and that they were trying to find Do-ha. By then, Do-ha had come up behind them, so Sol-hee pretended he was her boyfriend. Sol-hee raised her hand over her head, then ran toward Do-ha, perfectly covering his face from the reporters. Then she turned Do-ha to the other side, put his mask back on, and pressed his head down. The two of them successfully avoided the reporters. Afterwards, Do-ha knew that Sol-hee had acted like that to protect him. As they reached the door of her house, they heard the voice of the two reporters behind. Do-ha was extremely frightened and kept entering the password without success. Therefore, Sol-hee had to pull him into her home. A man and a woman in the same room made the atmosphere a bit awkward. Through the building's camera system, Sol-hee saw the reporters still standing outside Do-ha's door, so she said he should stay at her place for a while. To ease the awkwardness, Sol-hee took out an apple and began peeling it. But seeing her clumsy, Do-ha took the apple from her hand and peeled it skillfully. Do-ha accidentally saw the name printed on Sol-hee's receipt. Sol-hee instinctively asked him his name in return. Hearing this, Do-ha was startled and said his name was Sung-ju. Clearly, Do-ha spoke a false name, but Sol-hee didn't detect his lie. Sol-hee had some doubts about her ability. Then Sol-hee asked Do-ha whether he ever lied. Do-ha immediately said, "Who doesn't lie? I also often lie." Therefore, Sol-hee couldn't help but doubt whether her ability had disappeared. While the two were watching a movie, Sol-hee couldn't help but discuss viewpoints on love with Do-ha. Sol-hee hoped that her partner could come to her with sincerity. Otherwise, when she discovered he was lying, she would let go immediately. Do-ha then told Sol-hee that if so, she would have to meet a liar who lied truly, because everyone in this world will lie. Just then, the fight between reporters and a delivery person was heard at the door. Patrol police heard and came to resolve it. Kang Min saw the delivery package on the ground, so he brought it to the door for the homeowners. He suddenly noticed Sol-hee's name on the package. At that moment, Sol-hee opened the door and saw Kang Min. Neither expected to meet like this. After a few greetings, Kang Min noticed a pair of men's shoes in Sol-hee's house, so he thought she was married. But Sol-hee quickly denied it. Before leaving, Kang Min expressed that he missed Sol-hee, which made her heart chaotic. Do-ha, having heard their conversation, realized Kang Min was misunderstanding him, so Do-ha suggested next time he would explain clearly to Kang Min. When Sol-hee reacted, Do-ha had returned home. Do-ha heard Kang Min say unclear words to Sol-hee and felt uncomfortable. After Do-ha left, Sol-hee wondered deeply why her ability didn't work on Do-ha. Then Sol-hee decided to invite Do-ha to dinner to use the opportunity to test her ability again, but Do-ha firmly refused because he didn't like eating out. Last time he sat with her outside because it was quiet and the food looked delicious. Hearing this, Sol-hee suggested that Do-ha leave his contact method for her. When she found a restaurant with few people and good food, she would inform him first. Faced with this enthusiastic offer, Do-ha couldn't refuse and gave Sol-hee his phone number. Sol-hee returned to the cafe, surprised when Kang-min actively came to see her again. This time Kang-min apologized to Sol-hee for past matters. Sol-hee, unexpectedly angry, immediately scolded Kang-min, saying that he himself proposed and then completely changed. When they broke up, he moved and lost contact for 3 years. This belated apology meant nothing to Sol-hee. Kang-min defended his actions. He had asked around everywhere and found out she had moved here, so he requested a transfer with the hope of seeing her. He didn't dare call her because he feared she wouldn't meet him and worried she might have a new boyfriend. Sol-hee had lost hope in Kang-min, so she plainly admitted she had a boyfriend. Coincidentally, Do-ha entered the cafe at that exact moment. Do-ha saw Sol-hee calling him her boyfriend and looking at him with pleading eyes, so he came to stand by her. Seeing Do-ha holding Sol-hee's hand tightly, Kang-min awkwardly left. Sol-hee wanted to let go of Do-ha's hand, but he held on tighter. Do-ha, worried Sol-hee would be bothered by her ex again, so he decided to take her home. The two walked home hand in hand. When they reached the bottom of the building, Do-ha realized that Kang-min had no ill intentions towards Sol-hee. Do-ha advised Sol-hee to find a chance to explain things clearly to him. After that, Do-ha even returned a tarot card that Sol-hee had dropped before. The next day, Sol-hee invited Do-ha to have dinner together. Under the temptation of delicious food, Do-ha happily came. Sol-hee heard a couple nearby praising each other with fake words, and because of that, she thought of an idea. Sol-hee then asked Do-ha if he could try lying to her. For example, he could compliment her as being very beautiful, but Do-ha truly thought that Sol-hee was beautiful. Do-ha's sincere words made Sol-hee feel embarrassed. This plan didn't work, so Sol-hee came up with the idea of using alcohol to coax Do-ha into telling the truth. Do-ha directly said that he had quit drinking for many years, so he wouldn't drink. At that moment, Ji-yeon called Do-ha from the seaside. Not long ago, Do-ha wanted to stop writing songs for Ji-yeon to cut off her dependence on him. Do-ha didn't want Ji-yeon to fall in unrequited love and waste too much of her thoughts on him. For Ji-yeon, not being able to sing songs written by Do-ha meant that becoming a singer had no meaning anymore. She expressed her gratitude to him and hung up. Immediately after, Do-ha could no longer contact Ji-yeon. Do-ha became worried, so he immediately called Dok-chan to ask about the situation. When he knew that Ji-yeon had gone to the beach at Kangdong, Do-ha immediately recalled old events. He suddenly felt heartbroken to the point where he couldn't breathe. Seeing Do-ha in pain heading to his car, Sol-hee offered to drive him. On the way, Do-ha frankly admitted his identity as a composer to Sol-hee. Do-ha also reminded Sol-hee not to take pictures or say anything when she saw Ji-yeon to avoid creating rumors. Sol-hee agreed to that because she also didn't like to mind other people's business. The two hurried to the beach. At this moment, half of Ji-yeon's body was already in the water. Do-ha quickly rushed to Ji-yeon's side and brought her back to the car. As soon as they arrived, Ji-yeon realized that Sol-hee was also in the car. Ji-yeon, being sharp, quickly noticed that there seemed to be something unusual between Do-ha and Sol-hee. Ji-yeon urgently questioned them, but Do-ha didn't want to explain. Seeing that, Ji-yeon became even more suspicious. Ji-yeon even got angry and said she didn't want to live anymore. These words completely enraged Do-ha. Do-ha shouted and ordered Ji-yeon to get out of the car. Ji-yeon had no choice but to get out and follow her manager. On the way back, Do-ha sat tiredly in the car and fell asleep. When they arrived at the apartment complex, Sol-hee tried to wake Do-ha up. At that moment, Do-ha was still trapped in a nightmare. In his dream, he kept mentioning a girl's name. Sol-hee heard Do-ha say one sentence, "I didn't harm her." At this moment, a bell rang in Sol-hee's head. Sol-hee realized that Do-ha was lying. Sungju was the name Do-ha used back in high school. Back then, he was also a standout boy in school. Sungju and his classmate Omji were a famous couple at school. Until one day, Sungju and Omji had a conflict. She threw his car key into the sea to stop him from going to Seoul. After that, Omji had an accident. Do-ha was believed to be the one who had plotted to harm her. Faced with the police's questions, Do-ha was in great pain, but he could only repeatedly say that he didn't harm Omji. Even though it was something Do-ha said in his dream, Sol-hee still realized that he was lying. After Do-ha woke up, he was extremely exhausted. He quietly wore a mask and went back to his apartment. At that time, Do-ha had already started to have a fever. Do-ha ignored Sol-hee's concern and went home alone. Sol-hee, being kind-hearted, couldn't abandon Do-ha, so she found fever-reducing medicine at home and brought it to him. When she rang the bell, she saw the door was ajar. She went inside. Upon entering, Sol-hee discovered that Do-ha had fallen asleep beside the bed. She initially intended to leave the medicine and leave, but she accidentally saw sleeping pills on the floor. At that moment, Sol-hee found out that Do-ha suffered from severe insomnia. Seeing that Do-ha had had a high fever. Sol-hee couldn't bear to leave. Sol-hee used all her strength to help Do-ha onto the bed so that he could sleep more comfortably. Then she used a wet towel to cool him down. After Do-ha's temperature dropped a bit, Sol-hee was about to leave, but unexpectedly, Do-ha grabbed her hand and pulled her back. Do-ha mistook Sol-hee for Eum-ji, so he held her tightly and didn't let go. He even rested his head on her arm and kept mumbling apologies. Sol-hee originally wanted to withdraw her arm, but unexpectedly her whole body ended up lying on the bed, face to face with Do-ha. Sol-hee couldn't escape, so she had to lie next to Do-ha the entire night. The next morning, Sol-hee woke up and saw Do-ha beside her. She immediately got up to leave, but accidentally fell onto the bed. Do-ha was awakened and looked at Sol-hee with a frightened expression. Sol-hee hurriedly explained that Do-ha didn't close the door. She saw he was unwell, so she came in to take care of him. Sol-hee's goodwill didn't move Do-ha. Instead, it made him feel it was a burden. Do-ha hoped that from now on, Sol-hee would stop caring about him. She should just act like he doesn't exist. Facing Do-ha's coldness, Sol-hee didn't back down. She said she also didn't want to contact him anymore. On the surface, Do-ha said he wanted to keep his distance from Sol-hee, but he felt a bit touched when he saw the medicine she brought and the cold towel from last night. After what happened the night before, Ji-yeon realized that the relationship between Sol-hee and Do-ha was not ordinary. She became jealous and caused a scene with Deok-chan. She wanted Do-ha to move out, otherwise she would come looking for Sol-hee every day. At that time, that small street would be full of reporters. Ji-yeon's unreasonable behavior angered Deok-chan. At that moment, he bluntly said that Ji-yeon must not get involved with Do-ha anymore because she was very similar to Do-ha's ex-girlfriend. The more Ji-yeon stirred things up like that, the further away she would be pushed by him. Deok-chan's younger brother Jae-chan also knew about Do-ha and his ex-girlfriend. Jae-chan also knew that Do-ha didn't want his address revealed and always wore a mask because he was afraid others would find out about his past. That's why Jae-chan often used this to threaten and blackmail Do-ha. After seeing Jae-chan off, Do-ha went to perform at a bar, but his hands suddenly started trembling, which ended up ruining the performance. The owner didn't blame Do-ha. Instead, he warmly asked about Do-ha's condition. Do-ha didn't have much to say. He just asked the owner to let him temporarily stay there. Recently, Sol-hee discovered that Do-ha's house was completely dark, and she quickly realized that he had left home. There was a man wearing a mask, pretending to be Do-ha, and uploading videos online. He accused that entertainment company J had hired a substitute composer, and they even made music plagiarism a habit. After the video was posted, it attracted the attention of many netizens. Everyone believed that the masked man was Do-ha, so they collectively condemned Company J. If Deok-chan wanted to accuse this person of impersonation, it had to be clarified directly by Do-ha himself. In reality, the one who actually copied other people's works was composer Park from the company. As a director, he was extremely arrogant. After the incident, composer Park angrily stormed into Sol-hee's coffee shop. He suspected that one of his employees had betrayed him and pretended to be Do-ha to go online and expose the story of him plagiarizing music. Composer Park recorded the voices of his employees and wanted Sol-hee to identify the liar among them. Unfortunately, if she didn't hear them directly, Sol-hee couldn't tell the truth from lies. Sol-hee also read the rumors online, so she was somewhat worried about Do-ha. At that moment, Deok-chan came to find Sol-hee because he couldn't contact Do-ha. Knowing that Sol-hee and Do-ha were close neighbors, he came to ask her. Sol-hee was a bit curious about what kind of person Do-ha was, and why he always covered his face as if he was running from something. Deok-chan told Sol-hee that something had once happened that made Do-ha very exhausted. Since then, his personality has changed a lot. After moving into Sol-hee's neighborhood, Do-ha's condition had greatly improved. He was able to sleep better and started talking to neighbors. Deok-chan hoped Sol-hee could help him a little. When Do-ha came back, she should immediately call and inform him. Sol-hee thought about the places Do-ha might have gone and quickly rushed to the bar where Do-ha played the piano. When the bar owner recognized Sol-hee, he knew she had come to look for Do-ha. He let her wait a bit. Only when all the customers had left did Do-ha appear. Seeing Sol-hee standing in front of him, Do-ha was extremely surprised. When Do-ha accidentally broke a plate, Sol-hee quickly ran over to stop him from picking up the pieces with his hand. She believed that a pianist must protect the hands well. He couldn't let them get hurt. Then Sol-hee clarified her intention in coming here. Do-ha's phone was turned off so no one could reach him. His company was in chaos because of the video by that impersonator. That's why Deok-chan came to find Sol-hee. After watching the video, Do-ha still wanted to hide, saying the company must have already handled it. Sol-hee couldn't accept this weak stance from Do-ha. She blamed him for being irresponsible. Sol-hee firmly believed Do-ha absolutely was not the music thief. She just hoped Do-ha would stand up to protect his career. Sol-hee's words deeply moved Do-ha. Early the next morning, Do-ha went to an old housing area. A man appeared behind Do-ha and asked whom you came to see. Do-ha pretended to ask if the other was Kim Do-ha, but the man turned and ran away. Do-ha immediately chased after him, so the two began to chase each other through through the alley. At that moment, a ball rolled out. Do-ha reacted quickly and kicked the ball towards the man. The man fell to the ground and voluntarily surrendered. He thought the one chasing him was a police officer, not expecting it was really Kim Do-ha. After that, the man brought Do-ha back to the house in his basement. Yesterday, Do-ha saw that video and recognized the electronic keyboard appearing in it, so he was able to find this place. This man had been stolen from Musical.ly, so he couldn't accept it. He knew Do-ha was famous and very mysterious, so he used Do-ha's name to accuse it and attract society's attention. The man realized he had acted wrongly, so he was ready to remove the video and post an apology. Do-ha knew the fault was not with this man, but was with composer Park. The one who plagiarized the music was the one to be dealt with. The man voluntarily went to the company and admitted that he impersonated Do-ha. He was exploited by composer Park, who stole his work. Then composer Park chased him away, so the man held a grudge and acted like that. Do-ha also took the initiative to come forward, saying he would do his best to help company resolve this crisis. The arrogant composer Park also came to the company but denied his plagiarism. He also declared that the reason Do-ha still dared not appear was because Do-ha had suspicious actions. Hearing composer Park say that, Do-ha decided he would no longer hide. As Do-ha was about to remove his mask, unexpectedly Dok-chan quickly took a colleague's hat and put it on Do-ha, then led him out of the crowd. Dok-chan already had a countermeasure and wanted to protect Do-ha. Dok-chan had long known composer Park plagiarized but had not yet dealt with it. Afterward, composer Park also received his deserved punishment. Do-ha also changed his previous evasive personality. Do-ha even actively invited Sol-hee to attend his performance. After the music ended, Do-ha again took off his mask to face everyone. Seeing this scene, Sol-hee was extremely happy. The two of them said nothing, just exchanged joyful looks. Then, Do-ha invited Sol-hee to a meal to thank her for helping him to regain a normal life. From now on, he would never need to hide himself again. Suddenly, Do-ha called Sol-hee's name, then slowly approached her. In Sol-hee's heart, she was extremely nervous, but Do-ha asked her whether the guest at the next table was secretly filming them. Sol-hee was a bit at a loss for words. She explained that the table next to them was only taking pictures of the food. Because Do-ha had not eaten out for a long time, he always watched the surroundings warily. Once someone approached, he would immediately become startled, taking the napkin to cover his face. Sol-hee reasoned that Do-ha couldn't adapt to the situation in a short time, so she said it was okay for him to get used to it gradually. After the meal, the two went to a quiet bar. The people there were only focused on drinking, so no one paid attention to Do-ha. That made Do-ha less guarded, and he willingly drank with Sol-hee. After a few cups, Sol-hee began to get a little drunk. She asked Do-ha why he had treated her coldly before and even left home. Do-ha answered that because he remembered how he had caused her suffering, so he wanted to run away from everything around him. After hearing Do-ha's answer, Sol-hee's first reaction was that he had problems with women. On the topic of relationships, Sol-hee was curious whether Do-ha liked Ji-on. After knowing that only Ji-on liked Do-ha one-sidedly, Sol-hee felt a little jealous. Sol-hee really wanted to know how an unusual personality guy like Do-ha would treat a girlfriend well. While talking, Sol-hee wanted to eat shrimp, so Do-ha helped her peel shrimp. Seeing Do-ha's hands peeling shrimp, Sol-hee couldn't help but praise that his hands were beautiful. At that moment, Do-ha's cheeks turned red and he felt his heart beat faster. Do-ha had peeled the two shrimp placed on the plate, which just happened to form a heart shape. Drunkenly, Sol-hee picked up two shrimp and played with them like a child. She was so drunk she knew nothing, so Do-ha carried her home. In her daze, Sol-hee saw Do-ha taking off her clothes. Immediately after, Do-ha also took off his shirt. The next day, Sol-hee woke up from her bed. Seeing the stain on her clothes, she remembered she had fallen onto the table and got sauce on herself. After that embarrassing event, Do-ha carried her home, but on the way, she kept demanding ice cream, so he had to go into a convenience store to buy ice cream for her. Returning home, he helped her take off her dirty coat. Do-ha's coat was also dirty, so he took it off to check. Half drunk and half awake, Sol-hee saw this scene and thought Do-ha had bad intentions, so she slapped him. Immediately after, she lay back down and continued sleeping. Remembering everything from the previous night made Sol-hee feel extremely embarrassed. At that moment, Do-ha brought food to Sol-hee and didn't forget to remind her to change the front door password because after last night he also knew her door code. To apologize, Sol-hee helped Do-ha wash the stained shirt. The relationship between them gradually became closer than before. Do-ha saw news about a football match being advertised on TV and remembered that Sol once said she liked going to bars to watch football because they had big screens. Thinking of this, Do-ha proactively suggested inviting Sol-hee to go watch the match the next night. Faced with this invitation, Sol-hee was extremely happy and prepared for the date. She chose a cute pink outfit. Do-ha also wore a suit and leather shoes, perfectly matching. Sol-hee pretended she was busy today and hadn't had time to change, not that she purposely dressed well. In contrast, Do-ha straightforwardly said he wanted to look more attractive for Sol-hee. Such a frank answer made Sol-hee very pleased. Most bars tonight were overloaded because they didn't book in advance, the two couldn't find an empty spot. Fortunately, after much effort, they finally found a seat in a bar opened by a landlord near their home. The match was in full swing. Whenever there were great moments, Do-ha and Sol-hee couldn't help but shout excitedly. Their hands reflexively clasped each other tightly. Then, out of embarrassment, they hurriedly pulled away. All night, the bar was filled with continuous cheers. In the lively atmosphere, Do-ha and Sol-hee clinked glasses together. The next day, Sol-hee accompanied her female client to a tennis court. The client was worried that her father had been deceived by a woman, so she deliberately invited Sol-hee to check. Sol-hee didn't expect the woman to be her own mother. When Sol-hee saw her mother, the woman was also startled. The female client signaled to Sol-hee that she could start questioning. Earlier, the female client had heard that this woman had lost her husband, so she deliberately asked which day was the woman's husband's death anniversary. Sol-hee's mother said it was the day of her husband's death anniversary. As soon as Sol-hee heard it, she knew her mother was lying because that day was clearly Sol-hee's father's birthday. Sol-hee's mother, afraid of being found out, promptly pulled Sol-hee aside to remind her. Sol-hee's mother had noticed the client's father. As long as Sol-hee let it go, she could have the life she desired. Sol-hee's mother and Sol-hee's father had not met for many years. In her heart, that husband was no different from someone who had left the world. Sol-hee's mother also said that if Sol-hee could forgive her for this, she would forgive Sol-hee, but Sol-hee detected that her mother's words were lies. At that moment, the client's family arrived. She continued to question Sol-hee's mother whether you truly loved my father. Sol-hee's mother smiled and answered, affirming that she loved him sincerely. Sol-hee once again realized her mother was lying, so she chose to tell the truth to the female client. After hearing that, she was not surprised at all. Their family was very well off. So many scammers like Sol-hee's mother had come to them. The female customer somewhat admired Sol-hee's ability, as she was never deceived by anyone. After that, Sol-hee's mother came to her place. Sol-hee's mother angrily smashed items in the store and blamed Sol-hee for all the hardships in her life. Facing her mother's rage, Sol-hee was extremely calm because she knew that the female customer had already doubted her mother's intentions. Even if Sol-hee hadn't shown up, she would have found someone else to investigate clearly. While her mother was about to scold her, Do-ha happened to come to the cafe to look for her. Seeing Do-ha arrive, Sol-hee's mother thought the two were in a relationship, so she straightforwardly told Do-ha that Sol-hee was a shaman. Hearing that, Sol-hee couldn't hold back anymore and stopped her mother. After her mother left, Sol-hee felt extremely embarrassed in front of Do-ha. Her ability to detect lies was not a good thing. Sometimes knowing too much made it impossible for her to be with someone. This made Sol-hee suddenly think of her ex-boyfriend. In fact, many years ago, Kangmin did not leave Sol-hee because he had a change of heart, but because he was sick and didn't want to drag her down. So he lied to her and asked to break up. Sol-hee could only sense that he was lying, but she never knew the truth behind those lies. Until today, Kangmin still remembers that moment vividly. Kangmin can still recite Sol-hee's phone number and always thinks of her. As for Sol-hee, she thinks that she and Do-ha will not have a good ending either. Sol-hee didn't want to hide anymore. She confessed to Do-ha that she could recognize lies. Sol-hee had encountered too many fake people, but Do-ha was always honest, and that was why she had feelings for him. Right after confessing her special ability to Do-ha, Sol-hee quickly regretted it. Sol-hee still clearly remembered how, when she was a child, her mother warned her not to reveal her ability to detect lies, or else everyone around her would avoid her. The next day, when Sol-hee returned to the shop to clean up, Do-ha also came to the cafe. He asked if she had slept well the night before. Then he helped her clean up the store that had been smashed by her mother the day before. Sol-hee was extremely surprised by Do-ha's presence here. She didn't expect that after hearing her confession last night he would still appear in front of her. He didn't seem to care about her ability. In reality, Do-ha really didn't care whether Sol-hee was a shaman or not. After all, it wasn't against the law. In Do-ha's eyes, Sol-hee's ability to detect lies was quite normal. That could explain why she had done so many strange things recently. After that, they went to eat together. When they passed by a bakery, Sol-hee couldn't help but comment that this shop was always crowded. Seeing that Sol-hee had never tried the food there, Do-ha pulled her inside to buy bread with him. While they were choosing food, a woman came in with a loaf of bread she had bought the day before and demanded a refund. She claimed there was a worm in the bread and showed a photo to prove it. Upon hearing this, customers began leaving the store. The shop owner didn't want any trouble, so he had to refund the woman. Sol-hee could tell that the woman was lying about it. However, Sol-hee didn't want to mention her ability, so she suggested changing shops. The two went to an outdoor restaurant and happened to run into Kangmin there. Sol-hee didn't want to avoid him, so she confidently sat down next to Kangmin. At that moment, Kangmin's colleague asked about the injury on his arm. Hearing their conversation, Sol-hee couldn't help but look at Kangmin's arm. Seeing that, Do-ha quickly found a topic to talk about with Sol-hee. Hearing the two of them talk made Kangmin start to feel jealous. Kangmin announced that he would continue to pursue the girl he liked. Do-ha guessed that the girl he was referring to was Sol-hee, so that sentence made Do-ha feel unhappy. happy. Then, Sol-hee accidentally spilled a glass of water and soaked her clothes. Do-ha quickly went to find a server to get napkins. Seeing Do-ha leave, Kang-min immediately asked Sol-hee if she was pretending to be dating Do-ha. Sol-hee admitted that she had indeed asked Do-ha to pretend to be her boyfriend. Kang-min thought Sol-hee hated him, so she did that. So he stood up and left the restaurant in a bad mood. Do-ha returned to the table and noticed something was off with Sol-hee. She told him that their fake relationship had been found out by Kang-min. This stemmed from the fact that Do-ha had ordered eggplant, which Sol-hee didn't like. Do-ha realized it and asked about the foods that Sol-hee liked, then quietly remembered her preferences. Since the rumor about worms in the bread came out, the store's sales dropped significantly. Do-ha really liked the bakery's bread and trusted the owner. He didn't care about the rumors and still went there to buy bread. At that moment, a customer entered the store. Everyone saw that this person was trying to cause trouble for the shop owner. Do-ha generously bought all the loaves of bread that had been accused of having worms. On the way home, Do-ha happened to run into Sol-hee. Because she had clumsily spilled beer on her blanket, she had to carry the blanket to the laundromat. Sol-hee couldn't see the way and almost tripped on the steps. Luckily, Do-ha appeared just in time and saved her, so the two of them carried the blanket together. Sol-hee unconsciously smiled when she saw that it was Do-ha. While waiting for the blanket to be washed, the two sat and talked. They happened to see the bakery owner fainting on the street. Ever since the bakery was accused of having worms, the owner had been feeling very distressed. He was determined to find out who uploaded that photo online. Sol-hee felt touched hearing the owner speak, so she also wanted to help him. Immediately, Do-ha called a taxi to take the bakery owner home. The next day, a new customer came to the Tarot Cafe. The man claimed to be a student who had just returned from studying in France and wanted to work in this neighborhood. At that moment, a real estate agent came to the cafe to find his wife. When he saw the French returnee there, he pretended not to know the estate agent. But when hearing their responses, Sol-hee realized they were lying. At that moment, Do-ha also arrived at the cafe and recognized the man as the one who had caused trouble at the bakery the other day. Do-ha and Sol-hee suspected that the man had a problem and had some kind of relationship with the real estate agent. So Sol-hee and Do-ha pretended to visit the real estate office to investigate. By accident, Do-ha saw the computer screen of the real estate agent. On it was a photo of a dog that looked exactly like the avatar of the person who had posted the photo online. Sol-hee and Do-ha revealed the truth to the bakery owner. Hearing that, the bakery owner went to the real estate office. Taking advantage of the agent's distraction, he took the agent's phone. When checking the man's social media account, he discovered that the real estate agent was the one who had posted the information, and the man who claimed to have studied abroad was actually his son. The bakery owner, in anger, took a big bag of flour and threw it hard at them to vent his anger. After successfully venting his frustration, the bakery owner invited Sol-hee and Do-ha for a beer to thank them. When music played in the store, everyone started commenting on the recent songs on the music charts. Everyone admired Do-ha's music composition talent. Hearing that, Do-ha and Sol-hee couldn't help but laugh. Someone asked about Do-ha's name. He thought for a moment and decided to tell the truth. He revealed to everyone that his real name was Kim Do-ha, but everyone laughed loudly and thought Do-ha was joking. The bakery owner thought that Do-ha didn't want to reveal his real name, so he used the name of the composer Do-ha, but they didn't care much, because after all, it was just a name. What mattered was that everyone liked being around Do-ha and didn't care what he was called. That night, Do-ha and Sol-hee played and laughed very comfortably. On the way home, Do-ha asked Sol-hee not to call him Kim Do-ha or by his full name anymore because it felt too distant. But when they only called each other by name, both felt a little shy. Do-ha quickly went into a convenience store to buy the ice cream that Sol-hee liked. It seemed Sol-hee was very touched by Do-ha's thoughtfulness. Another very important reason was that Do-ha never lied to Sol-hee. That's why she truly saw him as a good and precious man. Sol-hee remembered that Do-ha had only ever lied once, and that was when he was dreaming and said the words, "I didn't harm her." Sol-hee believed that Do-ha had a nightmare, so he said that, so she didn't pay much attention to this. Meanwhile, Ji-yeon came to find Sol-hee the next day. Ji-yeon saw that the relationship between Sol-hee and Do-ha was very close, so she begged Sol-hee not to interfere in the relationship between her and Do-ha anymore. Because of Do-ha, Ji-yeon was willing to give up her whole life. Ji-yeon even revealed the secret that Do-ha had once killed someone, so that Sol-hee would be afraid and stay away from him. At that time, Do-ha's mother, because of her political ambitions, wanted him to go abroad for a while. Do-ha knew that his mother always saw him as a criminal and looked down on him because she was afraid it would affect her political image. This time, Do-ha could not follow his mother's orders. He had to stay because there was something more important that needed to be done. After that, Do-ha went to the coffee shop and confessed everything to Sol-hee. He said that he had once been a suspect in harming someone, but he could confidently assert that he was not the culprit. Sol-hee wanted to believe what Do-ha said, but she heard the sound of an alarm bell in her head. That meant Do-ha was lying. Right then, Deok-chan rushed in and took Do-ha away. Deok-chan had just heard that Ji-on had told Sol-hee Do-ha's secret. Deok-chan was worried that Sol-hee would reveal that secret, but Do-ha believed Sol-hee was not that kind of person. Even if Ji-on hadn't said anything, Do-ha had already decided to tell Sol-hee the truth. Do-ha had feelings for Sol-hee, so he didn't want to hide anything from her. At that moment, Sol-hee also became calmer than ever. Compared to her own lie-detecting ability, she felt more comfortable believing in Do-ha. She became curious and started searching for information about the case related to Seungju. Online, it said Seungju was the name of Do-ha during his high school days. Information online showed that Do-ha had once admitted to the charge of harming someone. This made Sol-hee confused and feel lost. Deok-chan didn't even dare pick up the phone when Do-ha called. That night, Sol-hee couldn't sleep, so the next day she was downcast all day. Do-ha sent a message to Sol-hee asking to meet so they could talk in more detail. At that time, Sol-hee's heart was still in turmoil. Sol-hee didn't know how to face Do-ha. In the end, she decided to keep herself busy to avoid thinking about the problem. That evening, Do-ha came to Sol-hee and apologized to her because he shouldn't have hidden this secret. While Do-ha was unsure where to begin, someone called Sol-hee's phone. Sol-hee pressed to decline the call, but when the call interface disappeared, the webpage she had just viewed popped up. Sol-hee was afraid Do-ha would see it, so she quickly grabbed her phone. But Sol-hee accidentally spilled the hot teacup, burning Do-ha's hand. Sol-hee quickly grabbed his hand and put it under cold water to soothe the burn. Then she carefully applied ice to the burn for him. Seeing Sol-hee's worried eyes, Do-ha understood that she was doubting him. Sol-hee explained that she was just curious, so she looked up the case online. Then Sol-hee carefully asked Do-ha whether he was the criminal people mentioned. Do-ha immediately understood that his confession the night before had been detected by Sol-hee's ability as a lie. Do-ha calmly replied that he didn't harm that person, but immediately Sol-hee heard the alarm bell sound in her head. Momentarily panicked, she loosened her grip, causing the ice to fall to the ground. Sol-hee once again realized that Do-ha was lying. She was confused and didn't know what to do, so she asked Do-ha to explain it. Do-ha didn't dare say much more, because he feared that the more he said, the more mistakes he would make. At that point, Sol-hee would identify everything as lies. He knew everything was over, so he left with a disappointed heart. In the middle of the night, Sol-hee went to the bar where she had once gone on a date with Do-ha. She ordered the same dish they had eaten together on that previous date, but Sol-hee realized that without Do-ha beside her, no matter how delicious the food was, it became tasteless. After getting drunk, Sol-hee couldn't help herself and called Do-ha. She told him that she was eating shrimp, the same dish they had on that date. But even though it was shrimp, it didn't taste good at all. The shrimp Do-ha peeled for her was really tastier. Sol-hee thought that Do-ha must have lied to her for some other reason. Hearing that, Do-ha wanted to explain directly to Sol-hee, but she refused. She wanted to hear his explanation over the phone. Do-ha realized Sol-hee was afraid to hear his answer directly, which was why she had called him. On the way home, Sol-hee witnessed a couple arguing. The two were upset about each other's complicated romantic past. Under the influence of alcohol, Sol-hee couldn't hold back and joined in the argument. To her, these issues seemed insignificant compared to her current situation. The couple felt that Sol-hee was meddling too much in their story and loudly blamed her. At that moment, Do-ha suddenly appeared, standing in front of Sol-hee. Seeing Do-ha's attitude, the couple quickly left. After that, Do-ha took Sol-hee home. At first, she wanted to pretend like nothing had happened, so she just chatted with Do-ha about daily topics. She thought that if she acted like everything was fine, the two of them could return to normal. But Do-ha was afraid that Sol-hee would hear his words as lies again. Sol-hee frankly said that because of Do-ha's lies, she had a terrible headache. Sol-hee didn't know whether she should believe Do-ha or not. After saying all the discomfort in her heart, Sol-hee went inside. Do-ha silently entered the elevator and left. Sol-hee heard the sound and rushed outside, but she thought for a moment and then stopped, not chasing after him anymore. Sol-hee became dispirited, and this also made her friends worry because her lack of focus could affect her work. At that time, Sol-hee received a task from a client, so she had no choice to try to stay alert and focus on her work. Sol-hee went to the hospital and accidentally saw Kang-min walking into the stomach cancer center. Then Sol-hee pretended to be Kang-min's guardian to ask for information from a nurse. The nurse told Sol-hee that Kang-min was in the final stage of stomach cancer treatment. Sol-hee wanted to find Kang-min to check on him, but received a phone call from the client. Sol-hee had no choice but to go to the patient's room. This time, Sol-hee pretended to be the secretary of an old man to check whether what the family and the doctor said was true or false. The old man wanted to know about his condition, but the family and the doctor reassured him that after this surgery he would recover quickly. Sol-hee realized they were lying, and in fact the old man also knew everyone wasn't telling the truth. The old man knew that everyone around him cared about his spirit, so he decided to join the family in putting on this act. Sometimes in life things don't need to be taken too seriously, and not all lies are malicious. On the contrary, some lies can make people feel the sincerity of others. The old man's heartfelt words touched Sol-hee's heart. When Sol-hee left the hospital, she happened to run into Kang Min in the lobby. Kang Min had hidden his illness from Sol-hee. He lied that he was at the hospital to visit a friend. He invited her to have dinner together. Sol-hee knew Kang Min was lying, but after the conversation with the old man, Sol-hee decided to keep the secret and agreed to have dinner with Kang Min. On the other side, Do-ha had moved back to his home. This made Dokchan very worried. Dokchan feared Do-ha's identity would be exposed, and this would affect company. Besides that, there were other unexpected situations no one had foreseen. Eum-ho viewed Do-ha as the one who harmed his sister, so he was always searching for Do-ha to take revenge for his sister. It seemed that he had discovered the mysterious person with the nickname Do-ha was actually Kim Sang-ju. Additionally, there was pressure from Do-ha's mother weighing on his shoulders. His mother was a former assemblywoman preparing to run in an election. For her political future, she came to find Dokchan. She hoped Dokchan would take Do-ha to Germany to avoid revealing the secret and affecting her political future. Everyone around saw Do-ha as the culprit. Even his mother was no exception. Do-ha no longer wanted to run away. He had resolved to face Eum-ho and clarify the matter. Meanwhile, Eum-ho had pretended to be Do-ha and left a letter for his mother, inviting her to meet. Do-ha's mother thought it was an invitation from Do-ha. Worried about being discovered by others, she rushed to the restaurant to look for Do-ha. Eum-ho, hiding from afar, saw that Do-ha's mother was looking for him all over the restaurant. At that moment, Eum-ho could be certain that Do-ha now was the Sung-ju from the past. That evening, Sol-hee had dinner with Kang Min. Sol-hee couldn't suppress her curiosity and asked about Kang Min's health condition. At that moment, Kang Min didn't want to hide it anymore. He confessed everything to her. When he found out that he was sick, he didn't want her to be sad, so he suggested breaking up. However, until now, Kang Min had never understood one thing, which was back then when they broke up. What did Sol-hee mean when she said she could hear lies? Sol-hee admitted it was exactly as the words implied. She had the ability to distinguish lies, but unfortunately, she couldn't hear the reason behind the lie. So the two of them missed their chance because of a misunderstanding at that time. In this meeting, Kang Min wanted to get back together with Sol-hee, but Sol-hee said she already had feelings for someone else. Kang Min respected Sol-hee's decision and no longer pursued her. On the way back, Sol-hee seriously considered what Kang Min had just said. Sol-hee thought that maybe Do-ha lied because he also had some hard-to-speak secrets. Thinking of that, Sol-hee immediately drove to find Do-ha. Sol-hee arrived at Do-ha's apartment entrance, but she didn't know his unit number, so she could only call him to ask. At that moment, Eum-ho gently knocked on Sol-hee's car window and asked whom she was looking for. Right as Do-ha was answering the call, he recognized Eum-ho's voice and became extremely frightened. Do-ha warned Sol-hee that this person had once tried to kill him. Do-ha wanted Sol-hee to quickly go back home. Hearing this, Sol-hee hurriedly reversed the car, but her phone happened to run out of battery and shut off. Do-ha remembered that Eum-ho had seen Sol-hee on the bus before and mistakenly thought they were lovers. Do-ha feared that Sol-hee would be in danger, so he quickly ran to the gate. When Eum-ho was about to spot Do-ha, Sol-hee pulled him aside. The two ran and hid in a corner. Eum-ho stepped forward little by little. Just as he was about to see the two of them, another security guard called him away. Do-ha blamed Sol-hee for not listening to him and leaving. Sol-hee also had her own perspective. She couldn't just stand by and watch him fall into danger. After hearing that, Do-ha was about to explain everything, but Sol-hee didn't need him to say anymore. Sol-hee decided to trust Do-ha unconditionally. The two of them quickly returned to Do-ha's house and successfully escaped Eum-ho's surveillance. Sol-hee also guessed that Eum-ho was the brother of Do-ha's ex-girlfriend. Seeing that Sol-hee was very curious about his ex, Do-ha told her his story. Many years ago, Do-ha was still called Sung-ju. He and Eum-ji were a sweet couple who had liked each other for a long time. Because Do-ha came to Seoul to attend university, the two of them were then separated in two different places. At first, Do-ha thought it wouldn't be a big deal, but Eum-ji gradually showed symptoms of anxiety and didn't want them to continue a long-distance relationship. Although Do-ha was extremely busy with his studies, he still made time to visit Eum-ji. Even so, she still felt upset, and they frequently quarreled over this issue. Eum-ji was very stubborn. To prove her love, she even did things that hurt herself. Until one day, Do-ha discovered that Eum-ji had used his mobile phone to send rejection messages to other girls. Do-ha felt controlled, so he got angry with Eum-ji and suggested breaking up. Eum-ji's dream was to live with Do-ha, so she absolutely wouldn't easily break up. In order to make Eum-ji lose hope, Do-ha lied that he had fallen for another girl in Seoul. Eum-ji repeatedly pressed him to say who his new girlfriend was, but he didn't answer. Seeing that Do-ha was determined to leave her, she didn't hesitate to hurt herself. Do-ha stepped forward to stop her and used his shirt to help bandage her wound, but Eum-ji still wouldn't let go and kept asking who the new girl he loved was. She even grabbed his mobile phone to check. Do-ha didn't want more trouble, so he took back his phone and shirt and left. Eum-ji hoarsely begged Do-ha not to break up with her. If she didn't have him, she'd rather go to hell. In a fit of anger, anger, Doha told Omji to go wherever she wanted. Then he walked away without looking back. The next day, the police came to his school to find Doha, and he was arrested for allegedly harming Omji. Doha looked at the photos the police provided. On them were Omji's blood-stained shoes. This made Doha feel deeply regret. The police found a bloody shirt at Doha's house and confirmed the blood belonged to Omji. When the police interrogated Doha about whether he was the one who harmed Omji, he admitted that he was the culprit. Even though Doha didn't kill his girlfriend, he thought Omji had died because of him. His mother advised him not to confess to the crime because it was a crucial time for her to enter politics, so she couldn't allow herself to be linked to her son's scandal. Moreover, since nobody had been found, the police couldn't conclude that Doha was the true culprit. Doha had no choice but to follow his mother's instructions. He changed his testimony and said he wasn't the one who harmed anyone. Dokchan helped Doha forge an alibi certificate. Because Omji's body was still missing, the case was closed. Doha was no longer suspected as the culprit. From a legal perspective, Doha was innocent, but from a conscience standpoint, he always felt he was the one who harmed her. After hearing Doha's explanation, Solhee understood why she had heard Doha lying. Doha thought that Omho might recognize Solhee, so he was a little worried about her. Only after being reminded by Doha did Solhee remember what had happened a few years ago. Solhee had also encountered Omho and Doha on the bus. That's why the first time Doha saw Solhee after moving, he had already recognized her. Back then, Doha was afraid of revealing his identity, so he didn't tell the truth. For Doha's safety, Solhee hoped he would move back to live next door to her, also so that Doha could avoid Omho's surveillance. After speaking, Solhee stood up to leave, but Doha pulled her back to the sofa. Doha feared that Omho might still be downstairs. He worried about her safety, so he suggested that she spend the night there. Doha even gave up his bedroom for her. Not only that, but he also thoughtfully brought her a shirt to change into. A man and a woman sharing one room made the atmosphere filled with awkwardness. Doha came over to say good night to Solhee, then returned to the sofa in the living room to rest. Late at night, the two couldn't sleep and sent messages to each other. He invited her to watch an upcoming soccer match, but she said she was a bit hungry. Hearing that, Doha went to the kitchen to prepare food for Solhee. Doha had a room for watching soccer like a movie theater with a huge screen. To Solhee, this was truly a kind of enjoyment. At first, Solhee liked watching soccer matches because of her father, and later, she realized that the world of soccer didn't need lies. You only needed to believe in what you saw. Soccer, like Doha, never lied. That made Solhee feel extremely secure. Hearing that Solhee thought so highly of him, Doha smiled. That atmosphere naturally brought Doha and Solhee closer to each other. Solhee suddenly suggested they quickly eat the noodles. Then the two of them happily laughed and watched the soccer match together. The next morning, when Solhee opened her eyes, she saw Doha sleeping beside her. She gently admired his handsome face. Solhee stood up and accidentally stepped on the remote, causing her to fall onto Doha. Doha opened his eyes and seeing Solhee sitting on his lap, smiled tenderly. On the TV, an outdoor camping scene was playing. That kind of relaxation made Solhee extremely interested, but she had never tried it before. Seeing that Solhee liked camping, Doha wanted to take her into the wild. Doha rented a car full of necessary equipment and set up a camping tent with Solhee. It wasn't until nightfall that the two of them finished everything and started enjoying grilled meat. Under the romantic nightlights, Solhee thanked Doha for everything he had done for her. Doha also felt very lucky that there was still a girl in this world who trusted him. The two recalled their destiny over the years. That made Doha feel like Solhee was the girl destined for him. Solhee also straightforwardly said she once thought Doha was her destiny. Hearing that, Doha wanted to know if that was true, but Solhee only smiled shyly and said nothing more. After that, the two talked about Solhee's special ability. Solhee used to advise her clients not to believe too much in promises or oaths. Instead, they should try to get the most accurate answer. Doha was curious what the most accurate answer would be. Solhee gave an example like the sentence, "The person I love most right now is you." Hearing that, Doha immediately said, "The person he likes the most right now is Solhee." After that, Doha gently kissed Solhee on the lips. Solhee could feel Doha's feelings, so she also gently responded to the kiss. Under the warm night sky, the two finally confirmed their feelings and defined their relationship. Doha and Solhee held hands as they returned to the building where the two of them lived together. Solhee left a gentle kiss on Doha's face, then the two went into their own homes. Doha was looking at the sweet photos taken together of him and Solhee. Doha didn't know that at that moment, Omho was searching everywhere for his whereabouts. Omho heard from a reporter that Jian was an acquaintance of Doha, so she might know where Doha lived. That night, because Jian couldn't obtain Doha's love, she ran to a bar to sing and vent her anger. At this time, Jian was still innocently unaware that she was being followed. When Jian returned to the parking lot, Omho took the opportunity to kidnap her. After that, Omho used her phone to make a call to Doha. Seeing Jian in danger, Doha didn't have time to inform Solhee and went alone to meet Omho. As soon as Omho saw Doha, he recalled the past. Omho still believed believed that Doha was the culprit who killed his sister. In Omho's eyes, Doha's innocent face was just pretending to look pitiful. Then Omho repeatedly beat Doha and forced him to tell the truth. Doha remembered that Sol-hee once said she completely believed that he didn't harm anyone. That made Doha, for the first time, gather the courage to face Omho. Doha said that Omho's sister was not harmed by him. Doha deeply regretted that he shouldn't have gotten angry and said words that caused Omji to do something foolish. So from that point on, Doha decided to live in regret to atone for his sins. In fact, Omji's older brother also had part of the responsibility because he had never truly cared about Omji's feelings. Doha's words froze Omho in place. But Omho still stubbornly insisted that Doha was the culprit, so he picked up a weapon and charged at Doha. Fortunately, at the critical moment, Kang Min arrived in time to save Doha. It turned out that earlier a colleague had shown Kang Min the photo of the suspect in the case that hadn't been solved until now. When he saw the suspect's photo, Kang Min realized it was Doha. Kang Min remembered that Sol-hee had recently been very close with Doha. Out of concern for Sol-hee, Kang Min messaged her to tell her about the issue, but Sol-hee didn't reply to Kang Min's message, so he went to her building. When Kang Min arrived, he saw Doha hurriedly running out. Kang Min immediately followed Doha and discovered the person he met was Omji's brother. Luckily, Kang Min appeared in time to stop Omho. Kang Min intended to take both of them to the police station for questioning, but Omho got up and ran away. Kang Min immediately chased after him, determined to catch that crazy person. When Kang Min was about to catch Omho, Doha suddenly rushed out and blocked Kang Min because he wanted to let Omho go. When Kang Min reacted, he could no longer see any trace of Omho. Doha knew Omho only wanted to take revenge on him and had no intention of hurting others. But to Kang Min, as a police officer, no matter who Omho's target was, it didn't matter. What mattered was that he had a weapon on him, which would always carry some level of danger. Kang Min believed that Doha deliberately let Omho go because he was afraid his true identity would be exposed. Doha frankly said that he had explained everything from the past to Sol-hee. After knowing the truth, Sol-hee still willingly dated Doha. Kang Min felt hurt in his heart. Kang Min repeatedly reminded Doha to protect himself to avoid making Sol-hee worried and scared. After escaping, Omho recalled the past between him and his sister. The reason Omji became dependent on Doha was truly because of Omho. Omji also had her own dreams, so she had saved up money to pay for university tuition. She hoped she could be worthy of the excellent Doha. Unfortunately, their father was a gambling addict. One day, he took away the money that Omji had worked so hard to save. Omji followed her brother's advice and treated Doha as her dream. Doha was the only one who could save her from this miserable life. At that time, Omho didn't think his words would ruin Omji's entire life. After the kidnapping incident, Jiyeon was extremely frightened and anxious. In the end, Jiyeon realized her impulsiveness almost harmed Doha. After this, Jiyeon no longer forced herself to be in love with Doha. Jiyeon just needed Doha to be safe and alive, and that was enough. After everything was settled, Doha returned home and woke up the next morning. As soon as he opened his eyes, he saw Sol-hee waiting at the door to bring him breakfast. Afraid that Sol-hee would see the injury on his face, Doha quickly put on a mask to cover it. Sol-hee missed Doha, so she wanted to see his face. Doha didn't have the heart to refuse her, so he had to take off the mask. After that, Doha honestly told Sol-hee everything. This also included the appearance of Kang Min and the fact that he knew Doha's true identity. Deok-chan found out that Omho had kidnapped Jiyeon and was looking for Doha to take revenge, so he rushed to Doha's house to find out the situation. Doha was worried that if things continued, his identity would sooner or later be discovered by Omho. Because of the company's reputation, Doha decided not to maintain his relationship with Deok-chan. Doha would also stay at his current house and protect Sol-hee. In fact, that was just an excuse for Doha to be able to stay by Sol-hee's side. Seeing Doha fall in love, Deok-chan was a bit sad. When Deok-chan left, he met Sol-hee at the door. He asked her if she really believed in Doha. Sol-hee firmly believed that Doha didn't harm anyone and that she chose to trust him unconditionally. Sol-hee asked back whether Deok-chan believed in Doha or not. Deok-chan said he believed in Doha, but Sol-hee realized that was a lie. Right after that, Deok-chan said words of congratulations for their love. After Deok-chan left, Sol-hee brought food to Doha's house. Sol-hee realized that she and Doha hadn't officially expressed their feelings for each other. Sol-hee reminded Doha that just because they kissed didn't mean they were officially a couple. Doha saw through Sol-hee's little thoughts, so he smiled and pulled her in front of him and then spoke words of confession to her. Sol-hee shyly responded to Doha's request to date. After officially falling in love, the sweet couple began dating. Recently, a festival was being prepared by the vendors in the neighborhood. Sol-hee wanted to bring Doha to join. Doha always had the appearance of a lonely man, so she wanted to help him blend into the community. Regarding the festival, Doha did not refuse and even actively proposed to participate with Sol-hee. Everyone quickly packed the related items and went to the location where the festival was held. Not long after, the courtyard was already crowded and all the stalls were packed with people buying things. Only Sol Hee's stall was very empty, so Do-ha pretended to be a customer to help the stall advertise and attract customers. When the handsome Do-ha performed drinking the beverage in front of everyone, passers-by were all drawn by his good looks and immediately rushed to the stall to order the same drink. At this moment, Do-ha's mother secretly came to the festival based on information from Dok-chan. She saw Do-ha happily getting along with everyone and was extremely surprised. She hadn't seen this smile of his in a long time. She didn't go forward but silently turned around and left the festival. Do-ha also bought a pair of teddy bears as a souvenir for the two of them. After that, the convenience store guy was about to go on stage to perform, but his guitarist didn't arrive in time. Under Sol Hee's encouragement, Do-ha gathered the courage to step on stage. Do-ha helped him successfully complete performance. After the song ended, the convenience store guy won a big prize for that song. As the festival was about to end, Do-ha led Sol Hee to a stall. Then Do-ha mysteriously took a bag from the shop owner's hands and gave the gift to Sol Hee. It turned out Do-ha had seen a ball with a famous athlete's signature. The original owner of the ball said it was the signature of a famous star. Sol Hee realized it was a lie, but because it was Do-ha's good intention, Sol Hee didn't expose the shop owner's lie. Today, Sol Hee was extremely happy. While they were watching fireworks, Sol Hee couldn't help herself and stood on her toes to kiss Do-ha on the cheek. In return, Do-ha also kissed Sol Hee on the cheek. Just as they were enjoying the sweetness of love, at that moment, someone discovered a human skeleton buried in the forest. After the festival ended, the two had a private conversation. Because of Sol Hee's trust, Do-ha had the courage to take off his mask and go outside. Do-ha thanked Sol Hee for being by his side and giving him that courage. The two couldn't hold back their feelings and were about to kiss when suddenly the guy from the convenience store appeared. He was drunk and unaware of anything, but still didn't forget to beg Do-ha to take him in as a student. With no other choice, Do-ha had to carry him back to his home to rest. At that moment, the guy's family called. Do-ha answered the call and gave the address for them to come and pick him up. Coincidentally, the convenience store guy's older brother was the singer Ethan. Ethan was the main vocalist of a boy band under entertainment company J. In the past, Ethan had also asked Do-ha to write songs for him. The convenience store guy didn't forget to introduce to his brother that Do-ha was a famous songwriter. Ethan thought his brother was just joking, so he didn't pay attention. He only wanted to take his brother away quickly. The next day, Sol Hee and Do-ha went to a familiar restaurant. Do-ha took the initiative to ask the owner to bring them an extra side dish. Seeing this, Sol Hee remembered how Do-ha used to refuse eating outside, yet now he could express his needs and face the restaurant owner directly. The two talked and laughed while eating together. At that moment, the TV was reporting about an unidentified corpse found on a mountain not long ago. Kang-min had witnessed Omji's brother seeking revenge on Do-ha, so he wanted to confirm whether Sol Hee's boyfriend, Do-ha, was trustworthy. Kang-min decided to investigate the truth about Omji's case. He went alone to Jangdong and found the captain in charge of the case back then to know the situation. While the two were talking, the captain received a report that someone had found skeletal remains on the mountain near the coast where Omji was harmed. Hearing that, Kang-min immediately followed the captain to the scene. When the captain examined the body, he saw a ring, but he quickly hid the ring away. Kang-min speculated that since the location wasn't far from the sea and Omji's body had still not been found, it was highly likely the body was hers. The captain didn't seem to want many people to know about the case, so he refused to let Kang-min participate in the investigation. The forensic doctor confirmed the body was of a woman under 25 years old. It seemed the victim had died 5 years ago. Kang-min was suspicious of the captain's perfunctory attitude toward the investigation, so he looked for a colleague at the forensics department to know more. Soon after, Kang-min went to find Sol Hee. Kang-min believed that Sol Hee could hear lies and also understand them. After Sol Hee heard Do-ha's confession, she believed he was not a murderer. Kang-min asked if Sol Hee's lie-detecting ability had any limitations. Sol Hee honestly said her ability was still limited. She had to speak directly with the person to distinguish truth from lies. Hearing that, Kang-min asked Sol Hee a rather difficult question. If someone harmed others but said they didn't know they did it, would she also hear that as the truth? Then Kang-min told Sol Hee about the discovery of the body on the mountain. Kang-min had also read information that Do-ha took sleeping pills and tranquilizers. The side effects of these drugs could lead to memory and perception loss. But even so, Sol Hee still told Kang-min that she chose to trust Do-ha. It's just that in her heart, a sense of unease began to appear. After talking with Kang-min, Sol Hee went to the music bar to find Do-ha. Under Do-ha's lead, two performed a soft and simple piano duet. Sol Hee tried to hide the worries in her heart, but Do-ha still noticed that Sol Hee wasn't quite happy. However, Sol Hee didn't say anything and simply went up to hug Do-ha. Not long after, Do-ha received a call from the Jangdong Police Department. The police asked Do-ha to cooperate with the investigation as someone related to the disappearance case of Omji. After hearing the news, his mother reminded Do-ha to be careful with his words and actions. actions. Do-ha decided to tell the police everything he knew, so he drove alone to Jiangdong for the captain to interrogate him. Do-ha proactively told the situation of the last time he saw Omji. Do-ha firmly told the captain that he did not harm Omji. As for the couple ring that Do-ha and Omji both wore, he had thrown it into the sea. Many years ago, the captain had been bribed by Do-ha's mother, so this time he only asked a few questions and then let Do-ha go. As Do-ha left, a kind police officer reminded him to be careful of Omji's older brother. Anyone could see that after Omji's brother saw her body, he lost all rationality and only wanted revenge. Sure enough, Omho was agitated and became even more certain that Do-ha was the culprit. Omho searched for clues about Do-ha once more and found a journalist interested in the case. This time, Omho knew that Do-ha had moved to a new place. There was also a video of Do-ha performing in a music festival program here. After that, Omho went to Do-ha's residence using the address provided by the journalist. Seeing that Do-ha hadn't come home yet, he destroyed the hallway lights. Sol-hee, who was inside, heard strange noises outside the door and felt uneasy. Omho pulled out a sharp weapon and hid in the dark, waiting for Do-ha to return. At that time, Do-ha had driven home and was in the underground parking lot. In the dark, Omho saw the figure of someone approaching Do-ha's door. Omho immediately rushed toward the masked man. Shortly after, the man was injured and collapsed. But when Omho pulled off the man's mask, he realized he had attacked the wrong person. As Omho was regretting that he had hurt the wrong person, Do-ha suddenly appeared at the elevator door. The two looked at each other. Omho said nothing and charged at Do-ha. Then the two wrestled with each other. Sol-hee heard the noise and immediately opened the door. Do-ha, worried for Sol-hee's safety, quickly helped her close the door. Sol-hee was extremely worried and quickly called the police and contacted Kang Min. After the call, Sol-hee, concerned for Do-ha's safety, opened the door again. When Omho was suffocating Do-ha, Sol-hee, without saying a word, rushed out and hit him with an umbrella. But because she used too much force, she accidentally fell. Luckily, Kang Min arrived in time to arrest Omho. After being arrested, Omho showed no remorse. He even swore that once he gained freedom, he would continue to seek revenge on Do-ha. Omho's words made Kang Min extremely angry. Kang Min worried that with Omho chasing Do-ha, Sol-hee might also fall into danger. Kang Min blamed Do-ha, which made Do-ha feel extremely guilty. He hated himself for not being able to protect Sol-hee. Ethan, who was innocent, was also stabbed when he came to find Do-ha. Previously, Ethan had been heartbroken because his band was about to disband. Musician Park used the position of main vocalist in a new band to lure Ethan, but he had one condition: that Ethan had to investigate Do-ha. For his own future, Ethan agreed. But after being attacked, he finally came to his senses. Seeing Do-ha disheartened, Sol-hee comforted him, saying that the one who caused all this was Omho. Do-ha was clearly the victim. Therefore, Do-ha didn't need to feel guilty toward anyone. Sol-hee's warm words moved Do-ha deeply. Do-ha carried Sol-hee to the hospital to treat her foot injury from the previous night's attack. After that, just as he was about to leave, he was surrounded by reporters. They questioned whether he was a suspect of Sen-ju in the case of harming someone in Jiangdong, whether he had changed his name because of that case. Facing the reporters' questions, Do-ha proactively admitted that he was the suspect Sung-ju. He also admitted that because of that, he had changed his name, but he did not harm Omji. From a distance, seeing Do-ha surrounded by reporters, Sol-hee was extremely worried. Sol-hee quickly pulled Do-ha away. After going through this incident, Do-ha began to worry that people around him would get hurt again. Now, he no longer wanted to wait for the police to find out the truth. He was determined to find the real culprit himself. Faced with Do-ha's strong resolve, Sol-hee couldn't stop him. When they got home, Do-ha began collecting materials related to Omji's case, when suddenly, Jae-chan came to visit him. Jae-chan begged Do-ha to help him pay off his debt. Then, Jae-chan accidentally revealed that when she was alive, Omji was often robbed and beaten by her father. Whenever that happened, Omji could only cry alone and never told Do-ha. Only then did Do-ha realize how much pain Omji had been through. Do-ha gave Jae-chan the money and asked for the location of Omji's father in Jiangdong. Before going to Jiangdong to search for the truth, Do-ha went to tell Sol-hee. Sol-hee was worried about Do-ha's safety, so she wanted to go with him to meet Omji's father. But Do-ha didn't want Sol-hee to be in danger again, so he refused. Do-ha hugged Sol-hee and gently reassured her that he would definitely be careful. Then the two of them pinky promised each other. Just as Do-ha was about to leave for Jiangdong, Omho was also transferred to the detention center. Before getting on the bus, Omho entrusted Kang Min to retrieve the notebook from his belongings box. Everything inside was information about his sister's case. Kang Min immediately received the notebook. Inside, there was a torn photograph. The rest were case documents collected by Omho on the night the incident occurred. Kang Min discovered that a supermarket owner near the beach had seen Omji and Do-ha together. Kang Min speculated that the shop owner might be the only witness of the case. At that time, Do-ha had arrived in Jiangdong. The people there still believed Do-ha was someone who harmed others, so they cursed and poured dirty water on him. Do-ha ignored those things. He went straight to the small shop owned by the second wife of Omji's father. As soon as she heard Do-ha wanted to ask about Eumji's father, she hurriedly closed the door. Do-ha had no choice but to leave and accidentally saw a letter from the insurance company addressed to Eumji's father beside the trash can. Do-ha going to Jeongdong to investigate made Sol-hee extremely worried at home, so she quietly drove to Jeongdong and looked for Do-ha by the beach. Just as Do-ha turned his head, he saw Sol-hee standing not far away. Do-ha happily stepped up and hugged Sol-hee. Then the two of them went to the bank where Eumji used to work. There, they asked a colleague of Eumji about her situation. The colleague sympathized with Eumji and didn't suspect Do-ha either, because during work, Eumji was often approached by creditors who came to the company to demand money. Even her father came and made a fuss demanding money. That severely affected Eumji's physical and mental state. Before dying, Eumji had purchased some insurance under her own name. To get the insurance money, her father often came to the bank to cause trouble and demand resolution. Sometime after Eumji died, he had already collected the insurance money and left happily. The two of them once again went to the market and informed Eumji's father's second wife about this. They warned that she might be his next target. Hearing that, she no longer hid anything and told the two about Eumji's father's whereabouts. Eumji's father was spending his days at an underground gambling den. When the two arrived, they were blocked by security at the entrance. Coincidentally, the manager of the casino was the gangster boss who had once been a customer of Sol-hee. The boss was extremely respectful to Sol-hee, so he took her and Do-ha inside the casino. As soon as they entered, Do-ha noticed that Jae-chan was also there. Jae-chan's nature resurfaced. He deliberately didn't reveal the location of Eumji's father just to keep extorting money from Do-ha. While the two were talking, a dispute broke out on one side, and one of the people involved was Eumji's father. Do-ha lost his temper and stepped up to grab Eumji's father by the collar and asked if he was the one who harmed Eumji. Behind them, Sol-hee was waiting for Eumji's father's answer. She also wanted to know if he was lying. Do-ha questioned Eumji's father whether he was the one who harmed others. He immediately denied it. When Sol-hee behind them realized he wasn't lying, Do-ha finally loosened grip and let go of him. Eumji's father said that at that time he was being chased by creditors for money. At that time, he even wished someone would help him harm Eumji so that he could receive the insurance money. He always thought that Do-ha was the one who harmed his daughter. He didn't even forget to thank Do-ha for helping him. Seeing that Do-ha had a new girlfriend, he started teasing. After saying that, he walked towards Sol-hee intending to tease her a bit. The gangster boss was extremely respectful towards Sol-hee, so he stepped up to teach Eumji's father a lesson. He asked Eumji's father who the real culprit was. He turned his head and saw Jae-chan in the crowd. Eumji's father recognized that this guy used to follow Eumji every day. Seeing that the situation was unfavorable, Jae-chan quickly fled the scene and took off on a motorbike. Do-ha drove after him. Sol-hee couldn't keep up, so she had no choice but to sit in the gangster boss's car to follow behind. Jae-chan rode the motorbike through small alleys to escape. Do-ha observed his escape route, then blocked the road and forced Jae-chan to stop. Jae-chan admitted that he was the one who killed Eumji. Then Jae-chan changed his tone and said he was just joking. Jae-chan also said that Eumji used to date him after Do-ha went to Seoul. Sol-hee appeared and said that Jae-chan was lying. Do-ha asked again whether Jae-chan was the culprit, but Jae-chan didn't answer. Taking advantage of the moment when Do-ha wasn't paying attention, Jae-chan pushed him away and held Sol-hee hostage with a knife. Jae-chan threatened to hurt Sol-hee if anyone came closer, but Sol-hee could tell he was lying, so she told everyone. Do-ha was worried that Sol-hee would get hurt, so he didn't dare make a move. Do-ha was willing to let Jae-chan go on the condition that he released Sol-hee. Not only that, but Do-ha also gave the car key to Jae-chan. The moment Jae-chan got in the car, Do-ha rushed over to hug Sol-hee. Do-ha was afraid that he had once again put her in danger. After that, Sol-hee showed a bit of regret. If she had arrived earlier, she might have been able to tell whether what Jae-chan said was true or not. Do-ha suspected Jae-chan was the culprit, so he went to find Deok-chan. Hearing Do-ha's suspicion, Deok-chan explained about his younger brother. Deok-chan also reminded Do-ha that when everyone thought Do-ha was someone who harmed others, they still ignored the rumors and stayed by his side to support him. Do-ha then went to find Sol-hee and told her that today he met Deok-chan, but he couldn't get any information about Jae-chan. On the contrary, Do-ha was even scolded by Deok-chan. While Do-ha was talking, he received a message from Kang Min. Previously, Kang Min had gone to Jeongdong to investigate. Kang Min re-interviewed the witness from back then and knew that on that day, the man had gone to the beach parking lot. At that time, he saw Eumji running while calling out Do-ha's name. Then she ran toward a man wearing a red uniform. Because the distance was quite far, he couldn't see the man's face. He only heard Eumji call the other person Sung-ju. After confirming the testimony, Kang Min once again went to the captain to ask questions. Ever since Eumji's body was found, the police had immediately wanted to investigate, but the captain didn't care about the case. Regarding the captain's actions, everyone in the team believed it was because he secretly accepted money from Do-ha's mother. Kang Min was acquainted acquainted with the captain, so Kang Min wanted to persuade him to reopen the investigation and give him a chance to correct his past mistakes. Coincidentally, the conversation between the two was overheard by a reporter. The captain returned to his office and looked at a ring. Do-ha met Kang Min and knew what the witness had said. Do-ha recalled what happened that night. Do-ha and Omji went to the beach. After suggesting a breakup, he left. If someone in a red outfit returned to the beach to look for Omji, Do-ha analyzed that this person was very likely to be Jae-chan, because Jae-chan also always liked Omji. The urgent matter now was that they had to quickly find Jae-chan to confirm. After that, Do-ha went to find Sol-hee to ask her to help him look for Jae-chan. On the way, Sol-hee received a phone call from the gangster boss. The boss's subordinates had seen Jae-chan at the casino and caught him on the spot. Sol-hee hurriedly drove to the address provided by the boss, but when she arrived, Jae-chan had already escaped. Sol-hee used her lie-detecting ability to question the two gangsters. In her ears, the warning sound rang out. Sol-hee realized that two of them had released Jae-chan. The gangster boss's subordinates were scared by Sol-hee's ability, so they had no choice but to confess honestly that someone had paid off the debt for Jae-chan's younger brother, so they let him go. Do-ha took out a photo and asked if it was person in the photo. They confirmed it was. Then Do-ha and Sol-hee immediately called Dok-chan. Do-ha only apologized to Dok-chan for what happened last time. Finally, Dok-chan also accepted Do-ha's apology. Knowing that Do-ha was looking for Jae-chan, Dok-chan said he didn't have any information. Then Dok-chan turned his head to look at his younger brother hiding at his house. Sol-hee couldn't detect lies through the phone, so the two could only guess. They suspected that Dok-chan might have known for a long time that Jae-chan was the culprit, so he paid off the debt for his younger brother and hid his younger brother. Just as they finished saying this, Sol-hee received a call from Kang Min. It turned out Kang Min had obtained from the captain the ring found next to Omji's body. Back then, the captain took money from Do-ha's mother because of his daughter's illness. That was why he hid this crucial clue. Now feeling guilty, he handed the ring over to Kang Min. The ring was a man's ring. The woman's ring still hadn't been found. On this side, Kang Min began to investigate the origin of the ring. A colleague discovered that the ring was a custom design, so there wouldn't be another one like it on the market. Only one jewelry street in Seoul had the capability to design this ring, so Kang Min went to that jewelry street and inquired at many shops. Finally, he found the store that had designed the ring. The store employee checked the information and confirmed that the couple rings were indeed ordered by Do-ha. But 1 week later, Do-ha lost the ring and ordered another one. Moreover, since Do-ha's fingers were larger, the size was increased, and the ring found at the crime scene was the one that had been reordered. In the end, the store employee recorded the customer's phone number and gave it to Kang Min. After leaving the jewelry store, Kang Min called Sol-hee and Do-ha to meet. Then Kang Min asked Do-ha where his ring was. Do-ha said that after Omji went missing, he had thrown the ring into the sea and did not reorder it. Kang Min took out the ring and shared what he had discovered. The ring found at the crime scene definitely belonged to the culprit. The culprit must have been someone very close to Do-ha to know where he had ordered the ring. Moreover, the culprit had unrequited love for Omji, which is why he did what Do-ha did. After speaking, Kang Min handed Do-ha a landline number. Kang Min said this phone number belonged to a bar that had gone bankrupt 6 years ago. Do-ha looked shocked because that bar was operated by Jae-chan. All clues pointed toward Jae-chan. Now they had to find clear or certain evidence before they could arrest Jae-chan. At that moment, they decided to go meet Jae-chan. But before they could do anything, an unexpected event occurred. The captain went to the media and revealed the truth that Do-ha's mother had bribed him with money. She had entrusted him to cover up unfavorable clues against Do-ha in the case back then. Through the media, the news spread widely. Everyone believed the evidence was solid and that Do-ha was the murderer. Public pressure made Do-ha anxious. Do-ha officially entrusted Sol-hee to find Jae-chan's whereabouts through Dok-chan. Then, Sol-hee gave Do-ha a buzzer and carefully instructed him that if the other person told the truth, she would press it once. If they lied, she would press it twice. After everything was arranged, Do-ha arranged to meet Dok-chan. When Dok-chan arrived at the agreed location, Sol-hee hid nearby to eavesdrop on the conversation between the two. Do-ha asked if Dok-chan was hiding Jae-chan. Dok-chan denied it, but Sol-hee realized he was lying. Sol-hee pressed the buzzer twice. Knowing Dok-chan was lying, Do-ha continued to press for answers. Through Sol-hee's signals, Do-ha guessed that Dok-chan had known from early on that the ring found at crime scene was not Do-ha's. Therefore, Do-ha did not hold back and questioned Dok-chan on where he was hiding Jae-chan. Dok-chan looked at his watch and said that Jan had gone to Jangdong. Sol-hee realized that Dok-chan was telling the truth. Sure enough, at that moment, Jae-chan had arrived at the police station to turn himself in. This news was immediately reported on the news. Eun-ho, in jail, heard the news and laughed at himself. For so many years, he had been set on taking revenge on Do-ha, not realizing that the real culprit was someone else. Although the culprit had turned himself in, Do-ha still didn't feel at ease inside. Do-ha still felt that Omji's permanent departure was related it to him. Sol Hee encouraged him, saying she didn't want him to continue living with that guilt. She hoped he would start a happy life. Suddenly, Do-ha reached out his hand and said he wanted that happiness to include Sol Hee. After clearing his name, Do-ha went to see his mother. His mother criticized him for first admitting to killing Omji and then changing his statement, which confused her and made her constantly doubt him. Do-ha said that as a mother, she should protect her son, but she had forgotten that in that situation, what he needed was unconditional trust from his mother. Hearing that, his mother suddenly felt somewhat responsible. With Jae Chan's confession, Dok Chan's entertainment company Jae was also affected. Cooperative clients started terminating contracts. Even the company's famous singer Jeon wanted to find another agency. Dok Chan reminded her of the hardships he, Jeon, and Do-ha went through to build the company from the start. Jeon felt somewhat swayed. In fact, she had personally witnessed the entertainment company Jae gradually grow into what it is today, so of course she didn't want to see the company shut down. Jeon curiously asked if Dok Chan truly didn't know his younger brother was the culprit. Dok Chan replied that he had only recently found out. Jeon told Dok Chan to keep apologizing to Do-ha until he forgives him, saying it once wasn't enough. As long as Do-ha accepted the apology, she would be willing to stay with company. After that, Dok Chan met with Do-ha to talk. Do-ha was also curious when Dok Chan had found out his brother was the killer. Dok Chan replied that he knew right after Omji's body was found. Dok Chan apologized again to Do-ha and begged Do-ha to believe him. Dok Chan insisted that he absolutely did not cover for his younger brother. Then Dok Chan told Do-ha about his own difficulties. At that moment, most of the people around him had left. He was also in the process of divorcing his wife. Hearing this, Do-ha immediately thought of his own past. If it hadn't been for Dok Chan always staying by his side, probably wouldn't have made it through. Now that Dok Chan was going through difficulties, Do-ha decided to do everything he could to help the company overcome its hardships. This was exactly what Dok Chan had hoped for. Dok Chan hoped Do-ha would attend the upcoming vision announcement event of the company so everyone could see that the two of them were still the same as before. On the other side, Kang Min was interrogating Jae Chan. Jae Chan confessed his crime and said he had always liked Omji. Seeing Omji carrying a couple ring with Do-ha every day made him extremely uncomfortable. Later, Jae Chan ordered a ring identical to Omji's. That way, Jae Chan could be just like Omji's boyfriend. Then when Jae Chan heard that Do-ha and Omji had argued and broken up, he hurried to the beach immediately. After that, Jae Chan pulled Omji into the forest and asked her to be his girlfriend, but Omji firmly rejected him, so the two had a conflict. Jae Chan, angry, pushed Omji and she fell. Her head accidentally hit a rock and blood flowed out. Terrified, Jae Chan ran back to the beer bar and pretended to watch soccer with Dok Chan. After that, Jae Chan used Omji's phone to send negative messages to Ho. Then he disposed of the body and threw her clothes into the sea. Hearing this, Kang Min immediately noticed something suspicious. Previously, Jae Chan had said that he burned Omji's clothes, but now he said he threw the clothes into the sea. If Jae Chan were truly the killer, he would certainly have a clear memory of that day and wouldn't confuse such details. Jae Chan realized he had made a mistake and refused to answer any more questions. Jae Chan said he wanted to wait for his lawyer. Jae Chan also accidentally revealed that the lawyer had said even if he confessed, he would be declared innocent due to lack of evidence. At that moment, Dok Chan was contacting a lawyer to help with his divorce. Jae Chan's attitude made Kang Min suspicious. This time, Jae Chan had been persuaded by Dok Chan to turn himself in at the police station, so Kang Min thought that Dok Chan also had a problem. Therefore, Kang Min went to find Sol Hee and asked her to use her ability to talk with Jae Chan. The next day, Sol Hee came to the police station as scheduled. Sol Hee said that Dok Chan told her to meet with Jae Chan and asked her to pass on a message that plan had failed. Hearing that, Jae Chan panicked and begged Sol Hee to call Dok Chan. When he found out that Dok Chan was holding a vision announcement event with Do-ha, Jae Chan became furious. Jae Chan didn't understand how those two could still maintain their relationship like that. Sol Hee realized that Jae Chan was not the real killer. Sol Hee asked Jae Chan why he still kept Omji's ring and came to the police station to turn himself in. Did Dok Chan give the ring to Jae Chan? Hearing that, Jae Chan quickly denied it. In Sol Hee's mind, a warning bell went off. It seemed that the ring had been given to Jae Chan by Dok Chan. Sol Hee began to suspect that the real killer was very likely Dok Chan. To get more information, Sol Hee deliberately tried to drive a wedge between Dok Chan and Jae Chan. Right after that, Sol Hee remembered that Kang Min had told her to find evidence to convict the murderer. Sol Hee then said that the police already had important evidence that could prove Jae Chan was the culprit. Jae Chan thought Dok Chan was no longer trustworthy, so he became extremely panicked inside. Jae Chan hurriedly denied that he was the one who harmed others and confessed that the ring belonged to Dok Chan. At this moment, Sol Hee realized that what Jae Chan said was all true. Up to now, Jae Chan no longer hid anything and told the whole story. Previously, Dok Chan had come to see Jae Chan and admitted that he was the one who killed Omji. Right after that, Dok Chan gave Omji's ring to Jae Chan and made made him take the ring to the police station to turn himself in. Deok-chan wanted Jae-chan to take the blame for him. Deok-chan reassured Jae-chan that one ring would not be enough to convict him because the important evidence of the case was in Deok-chan's office. Upon hearing that the evidence was in the office, Sol-hee immediately drove straight to Deok-chan's office. On the way, Sol-hee called Do-ha, but he didn't pick up. At that time, Do-ha was being invited on stage by Deok-chan. Deok-chan announced that he was resigning as CEO and the company would be taken over by Do-ha. Do-ha felt the trust of Deok-chan, so he tactfully declined his kindness. The two treated each other like before, making everyone applaud to celebrate. Sol-hee arrived at Deok-chan's office and searched through it. She didn't know where to look until she received a call from Kang Min. He told her that the confession evidence from Jae-chan was inside the safe. Sol-hee asked Do-ha for the password to Deok-chan's safe. She told him that Deok-chan was the real culprit. Do-ha turned his head to look at Deok-chan's smiling face and felt extremely disappointed inside. Sol-hee was still searching for the safe's password when she suddenly discovered a photo of Deok-chan and Do-ha together. Their close appearance surprised Sol-hee greatly. She suddenly understood the person Deok-chan liked was not Om-ji, but Do-ha. Deok-chan had intentionally marked Do-ha's birthday as September 4th. Sol-hee then guessed what the password was. Not long after, Deok-chan returned to the office. He opened the safe and found nothing inside. Sol-hee suddenly ran out of the office holding the evidence. Deok-chan hurriedly chased after Sol-hee and loudly said that he would turn himself in because he had wanted to do that for a long time but just kept delaying until now. Sol-hee could tell that what he said was true. Sol-hee guessed that the reason Deok-chan dragged things on for so long was because of Do-ha. Deok-chan admitted that he liked Do-ha and begged Sol-hee to keep it a secret for him. As soon as Sol-hee finished speaking, Do-ha also walked over. Seeing that what he said had been heard by Do-ha, Deok-chan immediately ran away. As he reached the door, Sol-hee was stopped by Kang Min and taken away. But Deok-chan pushed the police aside and drove off. On the way, Deok-chan took off his seatbelt and closed his eyes, then crashed into the roadside. Everyone chased after him and rushed to rescue Sol-hee. Do-ha and Kang Min pulled Deok-chan out of the car and gave him emergency aid. Do-ha saw that the car was about to explode, so he quickly warned Sol-hee to step aside. But it was too late. Sol-hee was knocked to the ground by the explosion. A ringing echoed in her head. After that, Sol-hee and Deok-chan were quickly taken to the hospital. Because she only suffered minor injuries, Sol-hee quickly regained consciousness. She wanted to go home to rest. Sol-hee advised Do-ha to stay by Deok-chan's side as a friend because compared to Sol-hee, Deok-chan needed Do-ha much more at that moment. Sol-hee got in a taxi to go home. Unexpectedly, the driver intentionally took a longer route and lied that he had gone the wrong way. But Sol-hee did not detect the driver's lie at all. After one night of emergency care, Deok-chan finally overcame the danger and woke up. Facing Do-ha looking at him seriously, Deok-chan told the truth about the night the incident happened. At that time, Do-ha did not go to watch football and Deok-chan could not contact him. Deok-chan went to the beach to look for Do-ha, but ended up meeting Om-ji. Deok-chan heard that she had broken up with Do-ha, and he was very happy. Deok-chan scolded Om-ji for breaking up and then clinging back to Do-ha. Om-ji felt uncomfortable and exposed that Deok-chan also liked Do-ha. Seeing his secret exposed, Deok-chan hurriedly chased after Om-ji. He asked her if she had told anyone about his secret. Om-ji saw the couple ring on Deok-chan's neck and was even more certain her suspicion was right. Om-ji wanted to tell Do-ha Deok-chan's secret so that the two of them couldn't even remain friends. Deok-chan became angry and pushed Om-ji. Unexpectedly, she hit her head on a rock and died suddenly. Deok-chan panicked and didn't know what to do. Jae-chan suddenly called and said someone had just seen Do-ha and Om-ji arguing at the bar. Deok-chan is worried that after he escapes, Do-ha will become a suspect, so he wants to turn this case into one where the victim acts foolishly so that no one knows. Unexpectedly, while transporting Om-ji's body, Deok-chan accidentally got injured. His blood dripped onto Om-ji's clothes. Not only that, the ring also accidentally fell at the scene. When he realized and came back to find it, the ring was gone. In the end, Deok-chan took Om-ji's ring and his blood-stained clothes to burn them. But after hesitating for half a day, Deok-chan ultimately still kept them just in case Do-ha got arrested, so he could bring out the evidence to confess. The reason Deok-chan kept Om-ji's ring was because he admired Om-ji for being loved by Do-ha. Deok-chan did not expect that the case would be reopened recently. Deok-chan took out the evidence he had kept to confess, but company needed to be settled properly before he went to jail. So Deok-chan told the truth to Jae-chan and begged him to turn himself in. After that, Deok-chan would arrange everything and then get Jae-chan out of the police station. As for this feeling, Deok-chan originally intended to keep it buried in his heart. Deok-chan did not expect that in the end, everyone would find out. To protect his secret, Deok-chan had hurt too many people. He couldn't apologize and had no way to make up for his mistakes. After Deok-chan confessed, the media widely reported the news. After many years, Do-ha was finally cleared. Do-ha, dressed in black, went with Sol-hee to Om-ji's memorial service. Om-ho lay on the ground crying and apologized apologized to Doha. Doha no longer pursued the matter, he just wanted Eunho to let go of his resentment and live his life. Kang Min's colleague came to Sol-hee's shop to buy coffee. Sol-hee specifically wrote a sticky note with the words, "Oppa Kang Min." This made Doha feel a bit jealous. Doha was displeased that Sol-hee called Kang Min so intimately. Sol-hee noticed Doha was upset, so she called him honey to make him happy. Hearing Sol-hee call him honey and even act cute in front of him, Doha felt both embarrassed and delighted. However, Sol-hee soon realized her superpower had disappeared, so she sadly went to talk to Doha. Doha comforted Sol-hee that maybe losing her lie-detecting ability wasn't a bad thing. That way she could make friends freely and also happily accept compliments from others about herself. Doha's words made Sol-hee feel much better inside. Sol-hee wanted to test whether her ability would come back, so she asked Doha to tell her one lie every day. Not only that, Sol-hee also asked Doha to say, "Sol-hee is so ugly." Doha didn't want to lie about that, but he still had to obey. Meanwhile, Jian was invited to collaborate by another entertainment company. Later, Jian arranged to meet Doha and wanted him to join the company with her. But Doha refused Jian because now he had some friends he wanted to work with. After speaking, Doha looked warmly at Sol-hee and her staff. After seeing Jian off, Doha took Sol-hee to the theater for a date. The two of them enjoyed watching the play on stage. Sol-hee laughed loudly because she had never watched a stage play while still having her lie-detecting ability, because back then, she would always detect when the actors were lying. Now, she could finally feel the joy of an ordinary person. Sol-hee thanked Doha for his kind gesture and invited him to dinner. Doha nodded in agreement, but on the way, he lied that he had unfinished work, so he wanted to go home and promised to have dinner with her tomorrow. Sol-hee did not realize Doha was lying, so she agreed and went home. Doha dropped Sol-hee off and then hurried into the kitchen and seriously studied cooking from a video. Right after that, when Sol-hee was hungry, she received a message from Doha inviting her to his house for dinner. Sol-hee went to Doha's house and saw dishes already paired on the table. Her heart was deeply touched. Finally, she could feel the happiness of losing her lie-detecting power. Then the couple watched a movie together. Facing Doha, Sol-hee's sincere feelings were revealed. As long as she was by Doha's side, even if she couldn't hear lies, Sol-hee still felt very happy. After saying that, Sol-hee kissed Doha. The two of them kissed passionately just like that. Kang Min also decided to say goodbye to Sol-hee. Kang Min, for now, had no way of treating Sol-hee as just a normal friend. After that, Sol-hee and her mother went to meet her father. Sol-hee wanted to help her mother explain that she went to the hotel with another man just to eat a buffet. Sol-hee's father felt that the truth didn't matter. The issue was that she went to the hotel with another man for money. Sol-hee's mother felt wronged. She clearly wasn't having an affair, yet was accused of it. She also admitted that she didn't want to live a life of poverty. After the divorce, she sought out wealthy men to befriend, but in the end, she still only thought about her ex-husband. Hearing her confession, he silently turned and left. Sol-hee's mother, feeling angry, picked something up off the ground and threw it at his back. After that, Sol-hee's father unexpectedly came to meet Sol-hee in private and said he wanted to see his ex-wife. Right at that moment, Sol-hee's mother called to say she was going on a blind date. Hearing that, Sol-hee's father looked sad. He still had lingering feelings and didn't want to see his ex-wife marry someone else. Sol-hee's friend suggested that Sol-hee and her father go to the meeting place and resolve the issue. While they were talking, Doha arrived, so Sol-hee introduced her father to her boyfriend. As soon as he saw it was Sol-hee's father, Doha respectfully bowed. Then Sol-hee and Doha helped her father choose a suit. Doha took the opportunity to impress him by polishing his shoes until they shined. After that, Sol-hee's friend gave her father a haircut. Then, Doha picked out a ring online for him. In the end, Sol-hee's father was ready to go to the hotel. Sol-hee's mother panicked when she saw her ex-husband appear there. She didn't understand what her ex-husband's intention was. The marriage candidate served tea to Sol-hee's mother. He also said that after Sol-hee arrived, he would take everyone out to eat the finest beef. Because there was an upcoming Europe trip, the man's older sister also asked Sol-hee's mother for a favor. She asked Sol-hee's mother to stay at her house for a few days to watch the house and take care of her precious cat. Upon hearing that, Sol-hee's father became extremely angry. He immediately scolded his ex-wife's blind date. He said that even though they had been getting to know each other for a while, the man didn't know she only liked grilled pork belly. Not only that, he didn't know she was allergic to cat fur or that she didn't like sour food. Even such simple preferences he didn't know. How could he talk about marriage? After hearing what Sol-hee's father said, Sol-hee's mother stood up and questioned why he was even there. Sol-hee's father replied that he came to save her. Right after saying that, he pulled out a ring to propose to her. But Sol-hee's mother kept saying words of refusal. In Sol-hee's mind, suddenly a warning bell rang. The seemingly lost superpower of Sol-hee was restored. From a distance, Sol-hee walked over to expose that her mother was lying. Deep down, Sol-hee's mother actually wanted to return to Sol-hee's father more than anyone else. After hearing Sol-hee say that, her father gathered all his courage and stepped forward to tightly hug his ex-wife. Just like that, the two of them returned to happiness happiness together, like at the beginning. On this side, Do-ha also had his first successes in his career. After being given a song composed by Do-ha, Ethan began recording it for his first solo album. As soon as it was released on the market, his album immediately attracted the attention of young people. Thanks to that, the company achieved very high sales revenue. Because of that, the album received a prestigious music award. As expected, 1 year later, Do-ha was voted Best Composer. In the past, Do-ha had never thought he would be able to go up on stage to receive an award in front of everyone like this. Do-ha, even more so, had never thought he could use his real name. Sitting in the audience, Sol-hee looked at Do-ha with proud eyes. In her heart, she was very emotional, seeing how much the person she loved had changed. Later, at a cafe, Do-ha gave Sol-hee a strange tarot card. When Sol-hee flipped the card, she saw the words, "Marry me." Sol-hee smiled happily. In the end, Do-ha knelt down and proposed to Sol-hee with sincere words. Sol-hee nodded in agreement. Seeing that, Do-ha joyfully put the ring on Sol-hee's hand and embraced her tightly. That night, Sol-hee composed a letter and sent it to each of her VIP clients. She wanted to inform them that she would no longer be offering lie detection services. During the period when the special ability temporarily disappeared, Sol-hee realized a truth that in life, not all lies are bad. Some lies are told because the other person wants what's good for you. Some lies are more touching than the truth. From now on, Sol-hee didn't want to earn money by detecting lies anymore. Instead, she wanted to focus on the things she believes in and the things she truly loves. The drama ends here. Thank you for your attention and for watching. Goodbye, and see you again.